The following is a special presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
You know, going into this year's tournament, Jay, Arizona clearly a favorite to win it all.
I think Arizona's the best team in the country. They've got all the ingredients to win a national championship, maybe even more so than the Arizona team that marched all the way to the title game in 2001. With this basketball team, Arizona may bring the national championship trophy back to Tucson.
Arizona, and that's where I learned how to play basketball. Walking in your regular clothes, seeing the jersey there, ready to be worn. You know, it's just really your armor. You know, you're about to go to battle. And when March comes around, here comes the madness. People don't understand. You know, sometimes people say, at least you got there. Just getting there is not enough. I look around at my teammates. We're about to play in the national championship game. Does anybody else think that's a little weird? That's the last thing I remember, walking out into the court. Jefferson, top of the key, down by 2. Arizona needs this to win. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo-hoo-hoo! Arizona wins. Gosh, I wish I was back in the dance.
Troy State is dancing.
These Tennessee State Buccaneers, they're dancing, boys and girls, and they'll be going to the big dance.
And they'll be dancing in Manhattan. We go to the dance, baby. We go to the
Villanova has won this game.
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance,
for the win.
dance. I hope you dance.
That's where they're going, fellas. They're going to the dance.
The NCAA Men's Tournament Selection Special, presented by Staples.
Hello, Hoops fans, and welcome to Bracketology 101. Chris Fowler, Digger Phelps, Dick Vitale. Guys, about 48 hours to the beginning of this great American event, the NCAA Tournament, Tuesday night in Dayton on ESPN. Texas Southern against UNC Asheville for the right to take on Texas. We'll get to your brackets, pull them up, settle in, 2 hours, lots of opinions and predictions. You guys usually have no problem with the opinions, Dick.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I'm shocked city when I see an Auburn in there with that pre-conference schedule. I don't know what the committee was thinking on that, because the bottom line is they beat Wofford, they beat Georgia State, they beat teams like North Texas. I mean, their pre-conference schedule was a joke. No respect at all to the Big East. When I see Boston College not in there and Seton Hall with 10-6 records, I thought it was an underrated conference. And then to put Kentucky and Arizona to play in a semifinal game, possibly the 2 Goliaths of college basketball all year, that bothers me. I'm supposed to be nice today, but I'm telling you, I would ask the committee, ready for this? They lost to Western Kentucky by 19, Auburn, lost to Western Michigan by 18. I thought they said you're supposed to toughen up your pre-conference schedule. Will you tell me how that's tough, Mr. Phelps?
Well, if you started the season out 5-9, your first 14 games, you're ready to get fired. I mean, I don't care where you coach, but starting your season 5-9. No, they finished the season 5-9. I think Auburn's the biggest disappointment. But I am shocked that Kansas ends up as a 2 seed. They win the Big 12 conference outright. They go 14-2. They beat Texas, and yet Texas reward, nothing against it, yeah, but I don't think everybody agrees with it, that they're going to end up in a regional in San Antonio. I don't think that's fair. I think Kentucky ending up, you know, where they go in the Midwest. And, of course, when you take a look at Oklahoma, I don't know why they're in the East, and I didn't think Oklahoma was going to be a 1 seed.
I thought Pittsburgh would be a #1 in the East. They were 26-4. Had a great season. Keep them in the East. But what bothers me, Digger and Chris, Kentucky and Arizona going to play in a semifinal when they've been the 2 dominant teams in college basketball. And I don't want to get on Auburn. I love Cliff Ellis, but the bottom line is when you're playing that pre-conference, this is not a lie. That's a fact, man. It's not me with an opinion. North Texas, Wofford, Georgia State lose by 8-19 to Western Kentucky. Lose to Western Michigan by 18. Somebody from the committee justify that over Boston College and over Seton Hall with 10-6 records in the Big East.
But, Dick, when we go through the West bracket, I think that bracket is lucky. I mean, tough and hard as any of the brackets out there, especially with Kansas now as a 2 seed. Duke's in there. Wow. And guess what? When you look at Arizona and the way they played, losing at home against Stanford, not really playing well against Oregon, and having a showdown game with Texas, I don't think they're going to get there.
All right, hey, Chris, one other thing, Chris, I just wanted to share this out with you, Chris. Maybe I'm wrong thinking this. I don't think the Big East got respect. When a Connecticut is given a 5 seed, think about the South. With a 5 and a 6 seed for Maryland, Maryland is better than a 6 seed.
How about Boston College beating up on NC State at NC State? Isn't that a playoff game? I don't know.
So other than a few minor quibbles,
but our votes
love
don't count, Digger. Our votes don't count. I was told that today. Our votes don't count. But you know what? We have a lot of fun, though. We have a lot of fun, though.
Pace yourself, Dick. Pace yourself. Opinions count, including yours. Please log on to ESPN.com. Register to vote. We're going to show what America thinks is going to happen in each game all the way to the championship. We'll go through it round by round. You can log on and vote in polls as well. This will be fun, Dick. See if America agrees with you on Digger. All right? Lots more opinions as well. Rece Davis, Andy Katz, and Jay Bilas are filling out the official ESPN.com bracket. See, they are busy at work.
Look at them work.
I don't see any agreement over there. Let's go to the highlights first. We see Oklahoma going for the three-peat in the Big 12, taking on Missouri, and Oklahoma had a great start. Hollis, Price, Quantas White were very tough in the early going. Price had 22. And Missouri fighting from behind, but big Arthur Johnson brought him back.
Arthur Johnson brought him back. They were down 46-24 with 15 left, and they made the big run, Chris.
It was an 11-zip run. Jimmy McKinney knocking down the triple. Then again inside of Johnson, who has ripped up the Sooners in 2 games this year. 18-2 run now. Trayvon Bryant knocks down the triple. Final 2 minutes. Missouri from 19 down at half is only down 1. Sooners are up with 11.6 to go. Ebiara misses the front end badly. Missouri comes the other way. Ricky Paulding. This for the win. Off the iron, so close. And Oklahoma holds on, having a trouble closing out games lately. 49-47 over a very game Missouri team. Oklahoma gets the 1 seed. They win the Big 12. They did beat Kansas head-to-head. They will take on South Carolina State. California, the 8 seed against NC State, easily in as a 9 seed despite the head-to-head loss to Boston College on the Wolfpack floor in January. Mississippi State, you guys think? I think it's a very dangerous team.
Very dangerous team. Their guards are good. When you look at Bowers and Zimmerman, Mary Austin in the paint, a very solid team. Look out for Mississippi State to make a move.
They're one of my sleepers. They're my sleeper in that region. When you go 5 seeds and down for sleepers, I would have Mississippi State as my sleeper in that region. And NC State earned the right to be in the tournament by beating Wake Forest. They really played great in the tournament.
Tell that to Al Skinner. Louisville, Mississippi State would be a great second-round game. Bottom of this bracket in the East, Oklahoma State taking on Penn, Syracuse, and Manhattan. That's an interesting matchup.
Absolutely. When you take Bobby Gonzalez's team, they're going to play very, very hard against Syracuse. Yeah, the East Coast game, Syracuse really hot at the right time. I think it's going to be a tough team to beat with Carmelo Anthony and Jerry McNamara, the 2 freshmen really playing as good as any in the country.
Hey, watch Fran Duffy's club with Penn. I'll tell you right now, they got a 15-game winning streak, and that Ivy League team can play, and Oklahoma State's been struggling recently.
Penn hit 15 out of 33s, beaten up on Southern Cal back in early January. They can shoot the threes.
Wake Forest, this is Skip's excellent adventure. He's talking about all his young guys. How are they going to react in the NCAA tournament? Now, to the South region, and Texas awaits the winner of the opening game, UNC Asheville, the team that's sub-500 against Texas Southern. LSU or Purdue would be second-round opponents.
Yeah, you know, LSU certainly came on strong at the end of the year. Purdue was really tough early, but I'll tell you one thing, Texas looks to me like they're going to get to San Antonio when they get out there. You think they're going to have a home court advantage with the crowd, the adrenaline?
I just love UConn. I think UConn at a 5 seed is going to be very, very dangerous when you look at BYU and Stanford and company. I just love the way they're playing with Okafor. Ben Gordon's getting it done, and they're getting bench points. And Jimmy Calhoun's team's ready to play, knowing how bad they played in that Big East championship final game.
He likes to go west. You feel he's underseeded at 5. He's got to play BYU, then perhaps Stanford, a pretty familiar opponent.
Well, you know, he's a number 5 seed, and I mentioned earlier in the same region, you got a number 6 seed with Maryland. 2 teams very, very dangerous out there. But the bottom line is Connecticut with Okafor certainly could create all kinds of problems.
UNC Wilmington is the team that knocked off USC and really scared Indiana last year. That's first up for Gary Williams. You like Maryland?
I love Maryland. I think you've got to realize they've got 5 seniors who played in 2 straight Final Fours. They are on a mission. Steve Blake as well as Drew Nicholas know they didn't play well the last couple of weeks. They want to prove a point.
Dick, Florida, 3 consecutive losses. No team has ever won the national title coming in off 3 losses. A 2 seed in Tampa. Is that too kind?
Well, let me say this about Florida. First of all, let's study those 3 losses. Number 1, it was a heartbreaker to Georgia at Georgia. A heartbreaker to Kentucky on a last-second shot. And then they played poorly in their game. They lost to LSU. But let me tell you, how many teams would have lost those 2 games? Let me also remind you, 1997, Arizona lost their last 2 games of the year to Stanford and Cal, and they won the national title. Florida's my pick to get out of that region and go to the Final Four.
Arizona was a 5 seed that year, not a 2 seed, though. In the SEC championship game, Kentucky trying to complete the perfect regular season and then the conference title. Hadn't been done in 52 years. Derek Zimmerman and the Bulldogs ahead to Frazier. And I tell you, Mississippi State knocking the Cats out of their shoes here, led early. Kentucky, of course, would respond. Bogan's off the dribble. What a terrific tournament he had. 22 points in this game. Cats by 5. Key moment right here. Mario Austin misses a pair of free throws with the Bulldogs. Down by 1 in the final 2 minutes. Wow, held to 9 points. Good job on him. And then Marquise Estill, the finger roll inside the no call. Kentucky holds on, but enough defense to win.
The defense worked on Mario Austin. They held him, surrounded him, beat him up. He was only 3 for 15 in the paint. That was the difference in the game because, Dick, that Kentucky team is so physical with their defense as well as the rebound.
Well, you know, it's really a great asset for Kentucky is their versatility. They got so many weapons. That's the 4th SEC tournament title that Tubby's won. Now he's got to get all that love there, man. The bottom line, he deserves it. He's my national coach of the year. He's done a great job. Hey, Oregon's been getting hot recently, winning the Pac-10. Utah without Britton Johnson, that could be a tough matchup for Rick Majerus.
But look out for Wisconsin. They make you play ugly. We saw him get to the Final Four a couple years ago. It's a Dip Bennett type of team. Bo Ryan has them playing. Kirk Penny can lead it, but they're more athletic. This is a very dangerous 5 team, and I was shocked to see Dayton end up as a 4 seed.
Hey, I'll tell you, it is very dangerous there. Weber State in that game, they have won, I believe, I may be wrong, 17 in a row. Exactly. They got the 2nd longest winning streak with Cravens. That could be a dangerous game for Wisconsin.
6 out of the 8 in that bracket you saw won their conference tournament. So, Missouri against the Salukis, who got in just under the wire, Digger.
I love Mizzou. I really think Mizzou's on a mission. They gave, when you look at Kansas to win, they lost to them on Sunday, come back and beat them yesterday. Today they gave, I thought, Oklahoma a run for the money at the end. Arthur Johnson in the paint is very solid. In their guard play, the 2 Rickies, when you see those guys go, I just feel that when they have their rhythm going, Quinn Snyder's team is as good as any in the country, and they got to the Final 8 last year, and this team is loaded with Ricky Clemens and Ricky Pauling in that backcourt.
Well, I think Missouri obviously has a number 6 seed, very dangerous, and certainly my club. As you look at Jim O'Brien, who made a gallant run.
They did. Ohio State trying to win 4 in 4 days and win the Big Ten title and steal somebody's bid, but Illinois had it going. Roger Powell, the drive, it goes. Illinois up by 7. Illinois would build this lead. It was a 20-point game. D. Brown, the steal and the layup. The Buckeyes playing on tired legs, still hanging around, though. Brett Darby knocks down the triple. It's a gutty team that would not go away. Darby knocks down another one, and then another one, and they're back within 9, but really just not quite enough to get any closer than that. Brown dishes to James Augustine. The young guy played a strong game today, and Illinois wins the Big Ten championship tournament for the first time by 13.
Very dangerous team. Brian Cook, you see 15.7 rebounds, but I love D. Brown in that backcourt. I think Roger Powell's had a great year, and when you look at Illinois as a 4 seed, this is a very dangerous team out west against Arizona.
Well, they take on Western Kentucky in their first game, a team that's really had to retool with Marcus injured. It's a 3-guard team. What about their chances against the Illini?
Well, you know, certainly when you look at Western Kentucky, obviously a team team that's really achieved, as you said, without Marcus. Coach Felton's done a great job, but I also think with Illinois, they got D. Brown giving them a lot of energy, and Cook's had a sensational year. And if you're talking National Coach of the Year, I would put Bill Self right up there along with Skip Prosser, right behind Tubby Smith. He's done an amazing job with a very young team, a freshman backcourt.
I got to talk about the Irish at Notre Dame. They're my team and I love them. But look at well, I'll tell you, Chris Thomas, Matt Carroll have had a great year with that perimeter offense. Danny Miller's been the other guy on the perimeter. I think the problem's going to be defense. Wisconsin's a good team. Their defense and their rebounding. If they can figure that out, look for Notre Dame to play a lot of zone and put themselves in a position to win with the perimeter game.
That's not going to be an easy game, man. I'll tell you, Bruce Pearl's club can score points. They got a kid there that's really dangerous who can play.
They beat Butler twice. Now to the ACC championship game. Duke trying to win a 5th consecutive tournament title. Never been done. Take it on NC State. Perhaps the Wolfpack not knowing if they needed to get this win for sure. Josh Powell knocks on the triple. It's a 15-4 run. They're up 15. And
then all of a sudden, J.J. Redick, man, it was the J.J. show.
You called it.
He was shooting threes all over the place. Absolutely awesome.
The freshman hitting all kind of big shots, drives in the lane. Duke cutting it to 6, and then Redick again, and then Dante Jones. It's a big shot.
Jones took over in the second half with Redick. His force, his defense, and his slam dunks. Duke got back in this game. They wanted to win it. They got it done, Dick.
I'll tell you, 5 in a row to win the ACC in the 50th year. Unbelievable. I think a great achievement by Mike Krzyzewski playing without Williams, Boozer, and Dunleavy. An amazing accomplishment. 5 consecutive ACC tournament titles.
It snaps the string of 1 seeds. Duke will take on Colorado State, a team out of the Mountain West that doesn't really distinguish itself, except they play tough, hard-nosed basketball. Those games are going to be out there in Salt Lake City in Mountain West country.
I want to tell you something about Colorado State. They were the surprise of all the conference tournaments. They lost to UNLV by 33. They go in there and beat them after the regular season loss. You're going to love Matt Nelson. You're going to love Brian Green. This Colorado State team is on a mission. This could be a tough game for Duke.
I'll tell you this. When you look at Creighton, certainly Central Michigan's got a 7-footer that people are going to see. But McCammon, who can play, best player in the Mid-American, and every year they shock people. The winner of that game most likely will play Duke, because Duke will get by Colorado State, and Duke could have trouble with the winner of that game.
It's a nice draw for Duke. Creighton's a 6th seed. Come on.
No. Let's talk Kansas. I'll tell you, when you look at Kansas now, they're going to be on a mission. They were in the Final Four last year. Collison, Heinrich as the seniors. The leadership's there. Jeff Graves is playing so well with double-doubles in the paint, and everybody talks about their bench. Their bench will be their zone defense. You look for Roy Williams now to get these guys to play 2 games in 3 days. They'll use their defense and play the zone when they need it.
We'll talk a lot more about these power programs as America shows us what they think in the early rounds. So this is the list of snubs. The Big East, neither quote-unquote team on the fence gets in, and Boston College will have a beef with NC State getting in.
Oh, I think there's no question they'll have a beef, but the bottom line, I don't think the beef's with North Carolina State. I think it's more Auburn. I mean, listen, Chris, I haven't heard a comment from you about that schedule. Wofford, Georgia State, lose to Western Kentucky by 19, lose to Western Michigan by 18, Southeast Louisiana, South Carolina State. Do you want more?
What about Tennessee?
Texas.
What about Tennessee, David?
Well, I thought Tennessee, I mean, their last 7 games, they go 2-5, and it doesn't matter how you played the end of the year. The committee, to me, at one time used to say, basically, hey, your last 10 games mean a lot. 5-9, 2-5, that's 7. That doesn't mean anything. But Texas Tech, I thought the problem with Texas Tech basically was you went 6-10 in the conference season. Yeah, you beat Baylor and you upset Texas. Well, 2 big wins. From that standpoint, though, that's not enough to get it in. And they played well coming back against Oklahoma. They gave it a run. Colorado deserved it. They were the 6th team for the Big 12. I just didn't think Texas Tech was strong enough to get in with their conference record.
I want to congratulate the committee, though. We jump on them. I congratulate them for rewarding Butler, Gonzaga, and Southern Illinois, rewarding them for an unbelievable season for the entire year, not just for tournament play. And for that, Jim Livengood and his committee did a great job, no doubt about it. And I think that was a positive when you see that scenario.
And the 3 mid-majors got awarded this year, which they didn't do last year. Butler, of course, you mentioned Southern Illinois and Gonzaga. Those 3 getting in, that was big for the mid-majors.
Yeah, 3 quote-unquote mid-majors getting in.
Hooray! The mid-majors got in. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Give them a shot. Give them a shot.
Someone's got to get left out, though, Dick, when the mid-majors get in.
And you don't want the mid-majors in. See that, Dick? He doesn't want the mid-majors in.
We're just getting started. We got plenty more coming up. Throughout, we're going to kind of reflect the fact that this really is a pop culture event here. And we're going to have folks from all walks of life give you some tidbits, some trends, stuff you need to know with the help from Chris Berman when you fill out your bracket.
Celebrities? Wow.
What up? This is Justin Timberlake.
Hey, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yo, this is Ice Cube.
Hey, this is Dalen Hart Jr.
Hello, I'm Oscar De La Hoya.
Hey, I'm Ben Affleck, and if you're a daredevil, The only place to be for the NCAA pool inside information is ESPN.
All right, Ben, thank you. Your buddies with J-Lo go high with an ACC team because they're going to advance to the Final Four. Someone is. That means Duke and Maryland, among others, have a good shot of going to New Orleans. An ACC team has made the Final Four a staggering 14 out of the last 15 years.
And we'll have the tips and trends all show long. Dick, we'll get you some coffee, some decaf, please. In the meantime, we're going to show you the top buzzer beaters in NCAA tournament history as voted on by you. Remember this one, 1990, Duke and UConn fans?
Leitner accepts the ball from the official, gets it into Bryant, back to Leitner, he dribbles, takes the shot at the buzzer, scores! Duke's going to Denver! Duke's going to Denver!
Morning. Before we start, if everyone could move page 15 2 pages up in the deck. And if your page 5 is fuzzy, just pass it down.
Unprofessional documents.
Page 8.
Lead to messy meetings.
Just remove it.
But at Staples, you'll get professional quality copying and printing. Our certified associates and 3-step quality process make sure your job is done right.
And this goes up.
Quality copying and printing. Staples. That was easy.
Anniversary V-Rod. Claim yours before they're gone.
America's most popular camera series is now digital. Introducing the all-new, all-weather, all-digital Stylus. Olympus. Nothing's impossible.
Don't act like a swan. Be a swan.
I don't think I'm swan material. Sorry, kind of new at this.
That's okay. It's good to try new things.
That's what I tell people about 10-10-220.
I use that. All my calls up to 20 minutes are 99 cents.
I haven't signed up for that.
You don't have to. Just dial 10-10-220, then 1 and the number.
That's easy.
It sure is. I knew you could do it.
Help. I think I'm stuck.
Dial 10-10-220.
The NCAA Men's Selection Special is presented by Staples. Get back time. Go to Staples. And in part by Harley-Davidson. The legend rolls on. And Olympus. With Olympus, nothing's impossible.
Welcome back to Bracketology 101. We want you to become involved in the show on ESPN.com. Our first poll question, which #1 seed appears to have the toughest road to the Final Four? It isn't even close. The real consensus is that Arizona out there in the West has by far the toughest, and that Kentucky, Texas, and Oklahoma have relatively easy routes to the Final Four. Continue to log on and vote. Polls throughout the show, and of course you can pick the winners of every game in the tournament. It's going round by round. We're going to start our discussion back in the South region, where Texas is the #1 seed, awaiting the winner of the opening round game Tuesday night in Dayton on ESPN, which is UNC Asheville against Texas Southern. The second round opponent would be LSU or Purdue. And again, they're playing in Birmingham, but 2 wins away from going to San Antonio, an hour and a half from their campus. So here is that bracket, Birmingham and Spokane on the bottom half of it. It's revealed so far, the voting on ESPN.com. Guys, here's what America thinks. 99.6%. They don't even know the opponent, but they have Texas moving through to the second round. They also have LSU over a Purdue team that was kind of fading down the stretch. BYU getting almost no respect as a 12 seed. Remember, the 12s often upset the 5s, but not against UConn here in the minds of America. And the Toreros of UC San Diego, team that knocked off Gonzaga in the final on their own floor, not given much of a chance against Stanford. Reaction?
Well, I think San Diego certainly can give Stanford a real battle. I think San Diego beating Gonzaga down here is certainly an outstanding team. They're better than people believe. But I would agree with majority of what the polls said. I go for the Feds, baby. They're right on target there.
Well, to me, it's got to be James Thomas in Texas. I think he's the key to that team because with him in the paint, everything happens for TJ Ford as well as their perimeter game. He can block shots. He's aggressive. He wants to go inside. He knows how to read. He can come down in the fast break. He can score with his back to the basket. As he goes, Texas will go. You've got to have somebody in the paint to establish it. He was a double-double guy the whole season last year in the Big 12. He's had great games this year, and the reason why they're #1 seed is because of TJ Ford. But James Thomas, to me, is the key to Texas moving on.
Now to the bottom bracket. These games in Nashville and in Tampa, the bottom pair. See what America thinks. UNC Wilmington, they should be mindful that they shocked USC in the opening round last year. And 10% of America actually thinks they're going to knock off your hot Maryland team in round 1. Xavier against a Troy State team that runs and presses and plays up-tempo, but Xavier has seen that before. Colorado given the edge over Michigan State in the 7-10 game. Wow.
I'll tell you, look at Colorado right there. They got a strong front court, but Harrison is certainly, Mirandis is an outstanding underrated player, and Pele can rebound. But, you know, Michigan State and Tom Izzo are very tough at tournament time. And I don't know. In that game, I'm going to give an edge to Michigan State. I think they're going to find a way in a physical half-court game to win. Florida playing in Tampa. It's going to be Gator country. I think you're going to see them head to San Antonio. I think the Gators are going to be better than what people believe at tournament time, despite losing 3 in a row, Digger.
Well, I figure when you look at Florida, it's got to be somebody in the paint. Well, Xavier has that when you look at David West. He is by far one of the most powerful players in the country, a tough man to stop, 1-on-1, 3-on-1, 2-on-1 defensively. You can't surround this guy. He can step out and shoot the threes. He can go inside. He can rebound. He can block shots. Very, very capable as a player. Xavier, to me, is one of the most physical teams as a 3 seed. Ramon Sato is very solid. This team can flat out play. They will not surprise me to see them move into that regional championship.
Well, Xavier, Maryland, with Maryland perhaps being underseeded at 6 is a terrific potential second-round matchup.
Oh, I think Maryland absolutely is so underrated there. You know, guys, everybody says a #1 or #2 seed is not meaningful. Doesn't mean anything. Forget about it. The numbers show differently. When you look at the numbers since 1985, 72 teams, 47 have been #1 or #2 seeds.
That's because good teams get the 1 seeds and good teams win the championship. I'm not sure you win it because you are a 1 seed.
11 teams have won it in the last 18 years. #1 seeds have won the national title, and 32 #1 seeds and 15 #2 got to the Final Four. So the best, the creme de la creme, usually arrive. Some can pull upsets, but the creme de la creme, the numbers don't lie, Mr. Fowler.
Are you ready to yield the floor just momentarily, Dick, as we throw over to Rece Davis and more opinions on this bracket in the South region first? Rece?
Yeah, Chris, the last couple of years on College Game Night, what Jay Bilas, Andy Katz, and myself have done, we filled out the brackets. We sort of dispense with all the arguments, accept the bracket as it is, and I don't want to put pressure on us or even toot our own horn. Okay, maybe just a little. We've hit 6 out of 8 in the Final Four, the last 2 national champions, so those guys have been talking about the South. Let's start in the South and see what this team of experts thinks about the bracket. We saw the national bracket, and you see the entire South there, Texas getting the 1 seed, and as you go to the top half, we believe it'll pretty much go as scripted.
Well, it's nice to see Texas rewarded with the #1. They won 5 games against the RPI top 25, but they've got perhaps the toughest second-round matchup in LSU, who's been hitting a lot of threes. They've got Ronald Dupree, one of the most underrated players in the country.
And Connecticut, one of the hottest teams in America after beating or crushing BC and getting to the Big East final.
Let's go to the bottom half of the South now, and that Xavier-Maryland matchup that Chris talked about in the second round. You guys believe it will materialize?
I think so. Maryland did not play well in the ACC tournament. They will play well in the NCAA tournament. We think Colorado is going to win against Michigan State. We'll give the Spartans a little bit of motivation because they've not been playing well on the offensive end. Colorado can rebound, and they've got a lot of talent and can score, although they've not won away from home this year.
And Florida, in the bottom part of that, their mental makeup is a question. After losing in the SEC tournament, they're not sure where they are.
Okay, in the South, as you see, this is how we have cut it in half. And the lower seed we have moving out right now, the Colorado Buffaloes, very strong inside with David Harrison. We'll see how they do away from that high altitude that they enjoy in Boulder. So we've got that much done in the South so far, Chris. And remember, you know, I love these guys. They're 6 out of 8 in the Final Four. So before you fill out those brackets, you might want to take a listen to them.
Wow, Bilas and Katz, they're my guys. I want to find out.
I'm going to see if America's percentages move up or down based on their predictions. That'll be fun to track now. Next up, we're going to go to Oklahoma and South Carolina State in the East. I'm dying to see what America gives the South Carolina a chance of pulling the huge upset. Oh, what is that, 0.2% of America?
Yeah, how about that?
NC State advancing over Cal. Three-quarters of America thinks that. Mississippi State, actually, a lot of folks are giving Butler a real good chance of pulling off the 5-12.
Well, the reason they're giving them a chance, that team's won 50 basketball games, should have been in the tournament last year. They're an outstanding basketball team.
Not a good draw for them in that game.
No, not a good draw at all, because Mississippi State is my sleeper to get out of that region, and certainly Austin and Bowers and company, very, very tough.
But Rick Pitino's team, we take a look at Louisville. The turnaround that team this season to me was when Marvin Stone started to play. They became a different team, because if you got this guy, and Pitino does a great job of teaching him one-on-one moves from his NBA experience, this is the difference. He can rebound, he can post up, he can power you up inside. This takes the pressure off Rece Gaines and Francisco Garcia, and that's why I like Louisville, the way they play offensively and defensively and force you into turnovers.
Also, Digger, coaches, too. Rick Pitino is an outstanding tournament coach in a one-game shot, and you know how important it is to be a coach, to coach in a one-game scenario.
I love those games.
Well, Louisville has to get some continuity. The other guys in and out of the lineup with the whole Stone saga. Maybe with everything resolved, they're ready for a little bit of a run here.
Well, that could be certainly a soap opera. Digger was outstanding in one-game shots, as we know, beating UCLA, 88-game win streak. He's told me that about 100 times. But other than that, looking at there, hey, Syracuse, Manhattan, Flores can play. Robbie Gonzalez, I call him Robbie, it's Bobby Gonzalez, but Bobby to me is one of the rising stars in coaching. St. Joseph's, you look at their backcourt, outstanding backcourt.
Well, Syracuse, when we talk about Carmelo Anthony, well, there's one other freshman who's had a great year for them. That's Jerry McNamara. He had started his confidence by the way he can stand out, shoot threes, but make, more importantly, the assist to the key players in transition. I love his game. He's been so unselfish with the ball as a freshman. His leadership, to me, is the reason why Syracuse is very solid. So the two freshmen, when you talk about Carmelo Anthony, you got to talk about Jerry McNamara, but the 2-3 zone, this is one team that will play the zone and play it perfected to force you to play their way. This is why I like Syracuse.
Yeah, they're a dangerous basketball team. Warwick is outstanding as well, one of the most improved players. And you're right, Digger, I think the 2-3 zone at tournament time creates havoc and problems for a lot of clubs because teams don't shoot well from the perimeter.
Could have a potential matchup. Carmelo Anthony, the young guy, Josh Howard, the veteran. Those guys colliding down the line of Wake and Syracuse can get out. Back to Rece and his gang.
All right, Chris, and you look at that East bracket, Oklahoma may be a surprise to some getting that top seed. And as you take a look at the entire side of that bracket in full in the East, Oklahoma sitting there at the top. The 5-12 game is always an upset-type matchup. 3 of the 12s won last year, but not so this time around.
Oklahoma, the strength in its guards. Hollis Price and Quantas White, they do the majority of the scoring. And Dick Vitale, Mississippi State is not just a sleeper. We think they're the prohibitive favorite in this bracket.
We're going to get to that in just short order.
And Oklahoma, though, 1-2 against the top 6 in this field.
Let's go down to the bottom half now in the East. Syracuse sitting there in that 3-14 game as well. Oklahoma State and Penn, St. Joseph's and Auburn. Dick will be happy because I think we've got Auburn out quickly, if nothing else, even though they got in. Huh?
Well, we're taking Pennsylvania over Oklahoma State. That's a close call, but we got to pick an upset here and there with Ugonna Onyekwere and Coco Archibong. Fran Dunphy has a team that can beat you, and I also like Wake Forest down at the bottom of that bracket. They are a young team. They have some ball handling issues, but Josh Howard's going to carry him to the second round.
And the biggest health question in this bracket is Delonte West. He played in the A-10 semifinals, but how healthy will he be with a stress fracture against Auburn?
Auburn just bigger and stronger.
You think this is a pretty open road as we zoom back and look at the entire East bracket there? Is this a fairly open road for Oklahoma?
I don't say an open road at all. I think Oklahoma's going to have a very difficult time because their big guys are not quite as good as Mississippi State's big guys. So that could be a potential problem for Oklahoma. But I'll tell you, I like the Sooners because of their toughness. And their toughness rests in their guards. Didn't you love it when Hollis Price today, he basically had to be carried off the floor by Alex Brown, the trainer. That was an amazing performance he put in. He spent more time on the floor on his back than he did standing up.
It ought to be an interesting thing. We'll see what you think about the next round matchups as we move on through the Eastern bracket. And as Chris mentioned, people from all walks of life, celebrities from all over the place trying to give us a little bit of help as we fill out this bracket. But you don't need to be too fast in filling it out. There's a guy who knows about speed, but then again, he knows when to slow down. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Hey, this is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dickie V in college basketball may have the fast break, but I like it even faster. Here's something you should know before filling out your bracket before this year's tournament.
Hey, Junior, double your car number for this tournament fact. Forget a 16th seed even winning a game. It's never happened in the men's tournament. Now, a 15th seed has beaten number 2 4 times since the field went to 64 teams back in 1985. but a 16 has never beaten a number 1.
You got the love, we got the shoe. The New Balance 771, only at Foot Locker.
NCAA Women's Basketball Championship begins Saturday on ESPN.
The Auto Show lets you see some pretty impressive vehicles, but only GMC trucks and SUVs are engineered with the power, agility, and comfort to make a truly lasting impression. GM owners or lessees can add 1,000 GM loyalty cash on top of 0% APR or 2,000 cash back on all new GMCs. Plus, get 500 Auto Show bonus cash on Sierra and Envoy. See the pros at your Northern Ohio GMC dealers.
Last night, I dreamt I was at the Cleveland Auto Show at the Chevy display. It was the coolest. New cars, future cars. What could be better than this?
How about $500 Auto Show bonus cash on select 2003 Chevy cars and trucks? That's $500 Auto Show bonus cash on Malibu, Impala, Trailblazer, Silverado, and Avalanche. Turn your dreams into reality. Get $500 Auto Show bonus cash at your Chevy Network dealer today.
What up, what up? This is Justin Timberlake. Go UNC. Here's what you gotta know before you fill out your bracket. Listen up, man.
What up with that pick of UNC, Justin? Try to spear somebody else, sorry. Better yet, go out on a limb and pick 2 schools from one conference to make the Final Four. Now, you'd think it's a rare occurrence, but it's happened each of the last 4 years. Think about it. 2002 last year, Big 12, Oklahoma and Kansas. 2001 from the ACC, Duke and Maryland made it. 2000, the Big 10, Michigan State and Wisconsin. And in 1999, again the Big 10 with Michigan State and Ohio State.
See the powerful Kentucky Wildcats doing something that hadn't been done in more than a half century, going through the rugged SEC, perfect, and then winning the conference tournament. IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis for the uninitiated. The first-round sacrificial lamb to the Katz in Nashville, familiar territory for Kentucky, and 99.9% of America, this is the vote on ESPN.com, thinks that Kentucky will slip by IUPUI and face Oregon in the second round.
I think Oregon in that matchup, I think it could be an outstanding matchup. Luke Ridenour was absolutely sensational against the tenacious defense of Kentucky. But Oregon's going to have to show some physical toughness, something they didn't show when they came east and they played Cincinnati and got blown out, because Kentucky will be very physical with their great size. I think Weber State is going to beat Wisconsin. I really do. I think that's going to be an upset, a shock. They got 17 in a row. They're better than people believe. If you don't believe me, remember the year they upset? Remember a team called North Carolina, Chris?
It's 99.9. I wonder if you went out 10 decimal places, it'd be 99.999. There's tens of thousands of people voting, Digger. I wonder if there's like 2 people picking against Kentucky in this game.
He's intrigued with all those numbers.
Well, the reason why Kentucky has changed its game plan ever since they decided losing to Louisville in the second half and that comeback against Vanderbilt on the road, they've gone inside. They're 23 straight wins, very basic. Less 3, more points in the paint. Their size and their strength and their rebounding has taken the pressure off of Keith Bogan, so that he now has established his game on the perimeter because of the strength of Kentucky on the boards.
Okay, we zoom ahead. Most of us believe that Missouri a very talented and very dangerous number 6 seed. Marquette, the number 3 seed. Those games being played Thursday and Saturday in Indianapolis. People liking, obviously, Missouri to advance, but still, there's, more than a quarter of the people think the Salukis will knock off Missouri in the first round.
Well, Salukis certainly last year went to the Sweet 16. Very dangerous team with Dearman and certainly Williams. But I like Alabama over Indiana. Alabama's got a new life right now. Mark Godfrey's got a feel after losing the first round of Vanderbilt. Hey, what a life we've gotten, because nobody thought they'd be in a tournament with having a losing record in the SEC, losing first round of Vanderbilt. They get a second chance, Digger, and they beat Oklahoma, and they beat Xavier earlier this year. If Williams and Dudley play, they can beat anybody in America.
But we saw what Brandon Knight did last night with Pittsburgh when they won the Big East Conference Championship. They want to get back to the Sweet 16 like last year. Well, guess what? Chevy Troutman in the paint, very solid. Ontario Lett in the paint. These two guys are physical. They really play so hard. They're aggressive. They go after you. And from that standpoint, I feel this way. Don't forget, last season, they lost to Kent. They've been on a mission all year to get back to the Sweet 16. Brandon Knight last year, when they lost the Big East Championship tournament, that was his goal last night. He got it done. His next goal as the leader of that team is get this team to the Sweet 16 to get a shot to get to the final. This team is that good, Chris.
Should have been a #1 seed.
Let's go see what the Rece and the gang think of the upset chances of teams like, Weber State and Southern Illinois and, other teams in that bracket like Holy Cross. Guys?
Holy Cross almost did it last year, Chris. As you look at the Midwest, these are our ESPN picks. Seeing what America thinks. You guys, what do you think in the Midwest? Pretty much according to form, but you like Majerus in that first round game, as he almost always does.
Well, first of all, we like Kentucky beating both Indiana and Purdue at the same time. They can handle them both at once. Wisconsin, we're going to take over Weber State, although that could be an upset. Jermaine Boyette loves to post up. He averages over 20 points per game. Slobodana Sokolic. Joe Cravens has a very good team in Weber State. That's a potential upset.
But the biggest question in this bracket is whether or not Britton Johnson will be able to play. He sat out the Mountain West Conference tournament. If he can't play, that's a tough game for them to beat Oregon.
Dayton getting that big 4 seed, but you guys thinking that Tulsa is going to come out of there as a 13 and move into the second round. As you look at the bottom half of that bracket, Missouri and Southern Illinois, the Salukis did it to Georgia last year, and they'll get a shot at Mizzou this time.
Southern Illinois and Holy Cross, potential upsets right there at the top of the bracket. Ralph Willard, one of the best coaches in the country, he's going to have his team prepared to play against Marquette, who's got a signature star in Dwyane Wade. And how about Pittsburgh at the bottom? I thought they should have been at least the top #2. Being in the same bracket as Kentucky can't make them very happy at all. One of the strongest teams, especially the guard spots.
Well, and the last team that got in with a sub-500 record was Penn State. Alabama got in with a sub-500 conference record. Penn State got to the Sweet 16. So the committee knows what they're doing when they reward a team that played good schedule.
They're not getting to the Sweet 16. Ain't happening.
Alabama's first round matchup against Indiana. Mike Davis going against his alma mater about, Tuscaloosa, about 45 minutes away from Mike's hometown. So it'll be some divided allegiances.
Pack your shooting, Mike. Pack your shooting.
They've got guys who can certainly do it. As we go through the Midwest, that's what we think so far, Chris.
Geez, I'm dying though. You got Kentucky coming out of that region. Out of the West, where Arizona is the top seed. Vermont, one of the all-time underdogs. They're in their first ever NCAA tournament. They have like 10 scholarships, barely a budget. Their coach does a morning radio show in Burlington, Vermont, and they are huge, huge underdogs against Arizona.
Well, Mike Patrick, my buddy who I worked with today, he loves the Catamounts, loves that nickname, but Arizona is certainly so strong. I mean, physically, they're just a dominant basketball team. And I don't really think they had the mental mindset that you had to have to play in a tournament, and that's why they got beaten that first round. Gonzaga and Cincinnati, interesting matchup. I'm going to give that edge to Gonzaga.
America thinks like 3 out of 4 people thinks UC is going down to the Zags in the first round, Digger.
Could happen because they don't score well on the perimeter, but when we talk Arizona, we got to talk about one guy. It's not Jason Gardner. It's not Luke Walton. The key to Arizona will be Channing Frye. If he becomes a double-double guy and he becomes the force in the paint, this is what Arizona will need to get to New Orleans. Without him, without his game, it will not happen. And you can talk all you want about the perimeter game of Arizona. They're very strong. They explode out well. But to me, Channing Frye is the key to that team making it all the way.
I just can't believe how tough that region is. When I see the names Arizona, Kansas, Duke, that just blows your mind. I mean, Memphis has a 7 seed. Very dangerous club. Hey, that winner of that Memphis-Arizona State game could give Kansas unbelievable trouble, especially the way Memphis was playing at the end of the year. But they got to deal with Ike Diago, who's an absolute sensational diaper dandy at Arizona State.
The key to Duke, to me, will be one guy, the senior, Dante Jones. His inconsistency versus consistency. When he plays inconsistent, I think Duke has problems. They're not a physical front line team. They can't score many points in the paint, but he's got to come out with his A game for 40 minutes if Duke's going to move on, because Dante Jones is great going to the hole. He's great going one-on-one. He can shoot the threes, but he cannot be inconsistent if they're going to move forward.
5 consecutive #1 seeds for Duke. Ends right here this
I know, but
year.
you have to like their draw pretty much. Creighton is a 6 seed, a potential opponent there. And as you said, Memphis, you think they have a chance to knock off Kansas? They might not even have to face Kansas. It's a good draw for Duke.
Well, there's no question. Duke, obviously, a team very talented. We saw it today. They responded in a positive way. Young talent. And if J.J. Redick gets on with that shot, remember this, not a lot of familiarity like there is playing in the ACC with each other. And if he gets a moment to shoot the ball, I'm telling you, it's automatic.
Saw that America picked the 4 higher seats to move through pretty easily. Pretty big margin of voting. Let's go back to Jay, Andy, and Rece, see what they think.
All right, Chris, and you guys agree that the West bracket is a stacked one so far?
It is the toughest. And America, very wise. The American people, they picked everything we did. They are very smart indeed.
I tell you what, I knew that you guys were men of the people. We'll start at the top of the bracket. Arizona, dominant for much of the season, virtually all of the season, except that Pac-10 tournament, which they didn't appear particularly interested in. Gonzaga over Cincinnati, just like America thinks.
Yeah, because Gonzaga can rebound and they can score. Cincinnati does not score the ball with efficiency. And watch out for the Notre Dame Wisconsin-Milwaukee game. Wisconsin-Milwaukee has a couple guys named Dylan Page and Clay Tucker, both of whom can score.
And Cincinnati right now, not team turmoil, but Bob Huggins not happy with them at all. They're not going in thinking about themselves pretty high.
He has not been happy with them all season long. No change there.
Well, that's why they're going to lose.
You look at the bottom half of that bracket, the Creighton Central Michigan game. Kyle Korver's had a terrific year. We've got 6-3, 7-2 setting up Memphis, Kansas in the second round.
That will be a very interesting matchup because you've got Chris Massey inside going against Nick Collison. But watch out for that Duke-Creighton matchup because that's going to be a great game. Kyle Korver is one of the best shooters in the country. I think he's a better shooter than J.J. Redick.
And we will keep an eye on the West. Of course, the dominant team for much of the season in most people's mind, the Arizona Wildcats.
One very interested, informed observer. Whenever the Arizona Wildcats take the floor, he is usually there. Our NBA expert, Bill Walton, and of course, son of Luke Walton of the Arizona Wildcats. Bill, thanks for joining us. Your initial reaction: Arizona enters this tournament off the loss in the Pac-10 when Lute Olson didn't place a lot of importance on winning at the Staples Center. They come off the loss. How do you like their draw? How do you like their chances?
I don't want to hear any whining about how difficult the draw is. Champions, they say, line them up, bring them on. The Arizona Wildcats, they play their best ball against their best opponents. Now, they have not played good basketball, the Wildcats, since they won at Cal Berkeley a while ago. But this is a team that going to Salt Lake City will give them a huge edge, and going up against Vermont, the guys who will be eating Cherry Garcia ice cream, the fish fanatics will be cheering them on. This will be a fantastic first-round event here. And when you talk about the good losses, there's no such thing as a good loss. Losses are like operations. The only good ones are things that happen to other people.
What about the rest, though? Guys like your son who's had a tweaked knee, did he enjoy the rest? Do you think they come into this tournament fresher and perhaps better off in the long run because they didn't have to play down until today?
Chris, the most important thing for the Wildcats right now is to start listening to their coach, Lute Olson, the Hall of Famer, instead of listening to the fans and the media who keep telling them how great they are. This is a team, yes, that does have a lot of talent. But unless they come out with the edge and the anger and the hunger of coming out and saying, hey, let's go out there and run people off the court, as opposed to, well, let's just sit back and act like we're cool and, oh, gosh, we have to play all these really good teams. Just think in the second round we might have to play the winner of Oscar Robertson or John Stockton out there. Then they have a real chance to get there. But championship teams, they look ahead and they say, hey, we want Kentucky, we want Duke, we want Illinois, we want Kansas. Let's get it going right now, and let's play them all right away. They do have one bit of an advantage over all those other teams, tough as they are in their own bracket, and that's that the games are in Salt Lake City, a very short flight from Tucson, and then the regional finals are in Anaheim, which is just a hop, step, and a jump. not only from Tucson, but from my house as well.
Well, that'll be nice for you. And they've earned that right. Obviously, it was the #1 seed. Let me ask you down the line quickly, what kind of team can beat Arizona? Illinois could be an opponent, and of course, Duke and Kansas on the other side of the bracket if they all get to Anaheim.
A team that likes to run and shoot. This is a team, Arizona, that wants to get up and down. They've gone away from the press. Sometimes they don't make their outside shot. They have incredible athleticism with the 2 freshmen, Andre Iguodala and Hassan Adams. They got a terrific stroker in the second-year player, Salim Stoudemire. But if those shots aren't going down, if the defense is not creating opportunities in fast break games, then who is going to create for Arizona in the setup offense against a dug-in defense?
Well, you said teams that can run and shoot, and Duke and Kansas certainly fit in. Hey, Bill, thanks for your time. I know you're going to be watching very closely once this thing all gets started on the weekend.
Just tell Digger that January 19th, 1974 is still the bleakest day in the history of college basketball.
Oh, why'd you give him a chance to bring that up? Hey, Bill, thanks a lot. We will continue looking through our bracket. Your predictions count on ESPN.com. Log in and vote. But now we continue our countdown of buzzer beaters. We talked about Butler. They had the lead until the Gators' Mike Miller hit him with a dagger.
5 seconds left. Dupay comes up. Dupay wheeling and dealing. Mike Miller has the ball. Miller drives down the lane, shoots it up, and it's good! And the Gators have won the game! The Gators have won the game! Oh, my!
I tried to avoid the charge as best I could, and I knew I put enough touch on it that if it was going to hit the front of the rim, I was going to get the good bounce. And I guess, you know, after the team explained what happened to me after the game, I found out that I went in, and that's always good.
Pound chicken, like, no, guy. Come on, I'm all about the lo mein, you know?
How you doing? Hey, what's up?
That's exactly what Jordan would have picked. Also very Jordan-esque.
My friends think you're crazy.
Yo, your friends don't even know me.
One DVD will take you further inside.
I have a feeling about you.
With exclusive freestyle rap battles, plus the real story from Eminem.
If I lost a battle, my whole life is over.
They're calling your name.
8 Mile. Only DVD Tuesday. DVD bonus materials also available uncensored.
2.1 seconds left. Will the dream die here for Duke? There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
An incredible play.
Introducing Intel Centrino mobile technology. The new wireless laptop technology designed to help you untangle, unburden, and unwire your life.
The NCAA Men's Tournament Selection Special, presented by Staples.
Welcome back to Bracketology 101. We're going to continue through the bracket. Those are your votes, the percentages of who you think is going to win the first round games are on the right above the team that you have advancing. Let's talk about Texas and TJ Ford. You always mention guard play, and LSU, that's a pretty tough team. They've shown what they can do late in the season and in the SEC tournament, yet really most folks giving them no chance against Texas in the second round game.
Well, I like Texas's depth. I really do. I think LSU certainly would be a challenge after playing in the competitive and really arguably the best conference in America, the SEC. Dupree certainly outstanding. I had the game when they beat Arizona, even though Arizona played without Walton and Stoudemire played limited minutes. They played so well. But I like Texas's depth, and certainly pound for pound, inch for inch. He's the Roy Jones of basketball. TJ Ford, the best player in America, player of the year.
TJ Ford, why quarterback? get it done, score, dish it. He's unbelievable. He's the quickest guy in the country. You can't guard this man. If you stay off him, he still finds a way to penetrate. He's great ball faking. He knows how to hit the jumper, but in transition, he's as good as anybody around. In one-on-one, he's hard to stop. He's very quick, and that's the reason why Texas is so good.
You know, Hoops fans know who David West is. The rest of America may find out. This tournament could be a showcase for the guy in Xavier, the 3 seed. But America, it's almost that's just about as close a split as we've had, a 59 to 41 split on Maryland over Xavier. How do you see that game?
Well, you know, Maryland's going to have to bounce back. Did not play well at the end of the year. Lost to Virginia down there, and then they lost that game in the tournament. Bottom line is Maryland, though, has been very tough all year with Nicholas and Blake. I think they're going to respond, but Romain Sato is outstanding. Don't forget Sato.
When you look at Florida, we talk about Matt Bonner. You've got to talk about their 2 freshmen. Freshmen, by this time of the year, are sophomores. Matt Walsh is as good as any player one-on-one going to the hole. His new dimension, giving him that spurt, plus he can step out and shoot the threes. Very solid performer. Anthony Roberson, love his game when he just decides to shoot. He can go one-on-one. He hit the big 3 shot that knocked off Georgia at home. He loves shooting the threes. Very solid performance. Their freshmen now are very, very grown up. They now are sophomores.
Hey, Digger, I think one of the keys, and you did it as a coach, I think for Billy Donovan is to get into their minds and try to get some confidence after losing 3 in a row. He's got to convince them, hey, we lost to Georgia on the road, heartbreaker, we lost to Kentucky. If he doesn't work in their mind, I think the toughest job preparing is dealing with the mind at Florida.
Well, it's a very different kind of second-round game. Michigan State or Colorado, 2 different kind of teams. Back to Rece, Jay, and Andy, see what they think.
All right, Chris, and we take a look at the teams that will advance to the Sweet 16 in that bracket. These are our picks. America's doing a pretty good job so far, guys. As you take a look at the South, get out to 32 and now out to the Sweet 16. And you guys like Texas moving on against UConn and Maryland against Florida. You know, we hear often that freshmen this time of year are sophomores. Maryland and Xavier are full of graduate students, a lot of seniors on those teams.
A lot of seniors, a lot of experience. But let's start with Texas. I agree with Dick and Digger. TJ Ford is amazing with the ball. I think you go box and 1 on him, but put the box on TJ Ford. Connecticut, with their speed, getting up and down the floor, I think they will beat Stanford and Maryland because of their experience. We're going to go with Maryland.
Well, LSU, though, is going to give Texas a game. They're very, very physical, coming off a hot run in the SEC tournament.
But they'd better hit shots. The key to beating Texas is hitting threes. If you don't hit three-pointers, you're not going to beat the Longhorns.
And in your mind, because both teams are experienced, what gives Maryland the edge over Xavier?
Well, I think their guard play. I think they've got outstanding guards, and Drew Nicholas and Steve Blake. I think that is ultimately going to be the difference. Now, don't sell Romain Sato short. Also, remember, Lionel Chalmers is in that lineup as well, and as a point guard, he is a scoring point guard, and he can handle the ball along with Dedrick Finn, and Anthony Miles can go to the offensive glass like nobody's business. Gets a lot of opportunities.
All right, that's a Sweet 16 in the South, Chris.
All right, Rece, let's go back to the East and look at the percentages of people think is going to march through to that round. Again, Oklahoma into the Sweet 16. There we go, over South Carolina State. NC State would be the second-round opponent, according to the folks here. I mean, Oklahoma, Kelvin Sampson really did talk post-game, Dick, about trouble closing out games. Now, 2 games in a row against Texas Tech, some critical mistakes, some missed free throws. Same thing against Missouri. I mean, going into the postseason, isn't that a concern?
Well, yeah, it's got to be a concern, but the bottom line is they defend so well. I think when you talk about winning in tournament time, it starts with great guard play, and they have that, as Jay said, with White and certainly with Hollis Price, one of my favorite players and a Rolls-Royce star. And then the bottom line is they do it with great defense, Digger. They really defend so well.
When it comes crunch time, though, it's got to be Hollis Price. We all know that. A great three-point shooter, a great one-on-one player. For 160 pounds, it's amazing how he just goes in, no fear, make things happen. He's quick, he gets assists, not afraid to take the big clutch shot when they need it. I think he's got to be the leader. As you talk about the last 2 games where they haven't closed out, he's got to be the guy to close out these games for Oklahoma.
Digger, I think he could be the Juan Dixon of this year. He comes from a situation where his mom's been in and out of prison, and I'll tell you this, he tells me he doesn't see her much. The bottom line is he could be the Juan Dixon of this year. He's that kind of kid, Mr. Clutch.
He is. He's banged up right now, though. Other part of the bracket here, Syracuse, Oklahoma State projected again. You know, I guess the guys over there had Penn knocking off Oklahoma State in that game.
Yeah, Syracuse, as good as they are, Josh Howard and Wake Forest. He's been the senior. He's taken these other players who are freshmen and sophomores and been the leader. The best player in the ACC, some people think the best player in the country. A big guard, a strong guard, able to go one-on-one, able to shoot the threes. He's the one player, he's got to stay out of foul trouble, that keeps Wake Forest, I think, honest and sincere so that they can move forward. This is the type of team that Skip Prosser has. They rely on their rebounding. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the nation, and they will move forward because of Josh Howard.
They already tipped their hand, but I want to find out what they think about Mississippi State going out in the second round. Rece, I don't know about that. That's a pretty good Bulldog team.
Yeah, and I think these guys think the same thing. I know we all do. We like Mississippi State. And we take a look at that entire bracket, and you see who we had moving into the round of 32. And then going on to the Sweet 16. You guys like Mississippi State over Louisville?
Absolutely. Mississippi State is an outstanding defensive team. Nothing easy against the Bulldogs, and what a great matchup you'll have at the point guard position between Derek Zimmerman and Reece Gaines. Both of them outstanding defenders, two of the best defenders in the country.
But the biggest question at the top is the health of Ebi Ara. He's got the fracture in his left wrist. Did not play well again today. If he can't go well, they may struggle at the top half of this bracket.
See, I don't think it's his health. I think it's his confidence. He was not playing well before he hurt himself. He's had a rough year, and I agree, though. Ebi Ara is the key because it gives Oklahoma a third scorer.
You know, you look at the bottom half of that bracket, and we have Wake Forest moving out, but there's some contention about Auburn being in, but they've got a dangerous, dangerous offensive team, particularly with Marquise Daniels.
Well, Marquise Daniels is one of the best players in the country as an all-around player because he can score the ball, but I think Wake Forest, because of their rebounding ability and their ability to guard people, will ultimately come out of there. Remember, Auburn did not beat all the good teams they played. They only won 2 games against the top 50, and Wake Forest had a much better record against better teams. I'm going to go with Wake Forest, even though they have younger guards, and that's going to be a question mark.
Okay, so those are the teams that we believe will make the Sweet 16 in the East. One of the other things that we're getting to do is to see what America thought about the top 10 buzzer beaters in tournament history, and who can forget this one? I know, Andy, you were just a little tiny boy when U.S. Reed launched one from half court for Arkansas to beat Louisville. U.S. Reed's buzzer beater at number 8.
Epson T001, Canon BC31E.
Shopping for ink and toner in most stores is hit or miss.
HP C9720.
Come on.
A.
At Staples, we stock a huge selection of cartridges, so we guarantee we'll have the one you need. Online or in store, promise. HP 45.
Bingo.
Your ink and toner in stock. Staples. That was easy.
From the creators of the Matrix trilogy comes an explosive prelude to the Matrix Reloaded, Final Flight of the Osiris, one of 9 mind-bending short films from the Animatrix. Premiering with Dreamcatcher, rated PG-13.
Yellow pencils, yellow post-it notes, yellow boxers,
$14.
Land courier, air courier, pedicure, reader.
$137.
2 printers, 2 scanners, 2 tutus.
$540. Keeping business expenses separate from personal expenses? Priceless.
Letterhead, cinnamon bread, envelope.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything business, there's MasterCard Business Card.
Let me guess, stuffed French toast down at IHOP.
Yeah, right now at IHOP, it's stuffed French toast. Creamy on the inside and served with all your favorites. Everybody's packing in just to get a taste. IHOP, come hungry, leave happy.
Whoa, there is a...
Simple way to call collect?
Huh?
It's 1-800-COLLECT. It's easy.
Oh, yeah, 1-800-COLLECT for collect calls.
Somebody just earned their wings. 1-800-COLLECT. Save a buck or two.
Wings.
Join ESPN Classic on a buzzer-beating journey. It's Pontiac Classic performances. 3 days of insane games. 16 of the sweetest plays in tournament history. 16 breathtaking moments that define what March Madness is all about. It's over! Pontiac Classic performances starts Monday only on ESPN Classic. To get ESPN Classic, call your cable or satellite provider.
Welcome back to Bracketology 101. We continue now in the Midwest region. Kentucky the top seed. Vastly different potential second-round opponent, Oregon or Utah. Of course, Utah without Britton Johnson, who sat out the Mountain West tournament in large spleen. If they don't have him, then they're not going to have a chance.
Yeah, they won't have a shot against Oregon. Oregon playing really well now. Jackson and Ridnour seemed to get out of a little slump they had in the middle of the season. I thought they were shell-shocked when they got beat by Cincinnati, and it took them a little while to get it back, and they have gotten it back, Ernie Kent. But I tell you right now, Oregon should win there, but not enough for Kentucky.
Kentucky, Keith Bogans. He's been the story all year. The best decision he made was to stay at Kentucky and play his full career. Solid performer, not forcing the threes like he used to, and I think the fact that they go inside more, he's got more of a power game going into the paint. His balance, his offense, his one-on-one ability is the reason why Kentucky does have a perimeter game.
Missouri, meanwhile, against a tough defensive Marquette team. Indiana, America thinks, will advance past Alabama and take on a Pittsburgh team that gets the #2 seed, not the 1 seed. And, of course, Brandon Knight appeared to be okay. Didn't really seem to be bothered by that injury at all in the Big East final.
Well, the key for them is they got to make free throws down the stretch. But I love this Pittsburgh team. They play great half-court basketball. They execute well. Ben Holland's done a phenomenal job. And I think they're going to march on. I think they'll beat Derek Wittenberg and Wagner, obviously. And then I think they'll have too much for the next round as well.
When you talk about Marquette, it's not just Dwyane Wade, it's Travis Diener. He has been outstanding as a sophomore point guard. He's been the quarterback to make this team really go. Robert Jackson in the paint, Scott Marriott on the sidelines, and I think Diener is the reason why this team is playing as good as they are, because he can shoot the threes, but he can take over to take the pressure off of what Wade does inside. I just like the way Tom Crean plays defense. They're solid. They can go at the paint, and this is going to be a tough team to beat because of Diener's leadership.
Well, defense, a real theme in that bracket with Kentucky on one side and teams like Marquette and Pittsburgh perhaps colliding. That's Rece, Jay, and Andy, see what they think.
It is going to be tough to get baskets there, Chris. We got them down to the round of 32, now out to the Sweet 16. Now, you sort of put a star beside that Wisconsin first-round game against Weber State, but if they get there, you like their chances to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, absolutely, because when they play Tulsa, Wisconsin has an offense that posts its guards. It's a continuity, and Devin Harris and Kirk Penny post up a lot. I like them there, but watch out also for that Marquette game, because Marquette and Missouri, that could be Southern Illinois and Holy Cross playing there. If those guys decide they want to strut into that first-round game, they better be prepared.
Well, don't undersell Missouri's defense. They did a great job against Kansas in the Big 12 tournament. This could be one of the better defensive games. Missouri, a real sleeper in this bracket.
A lot of pick and roll in that game between Missouri and Marquette, but Pittsburgh is the team that I would watch out for in that bracket, because Pittsburgh is playing the best basketball out of that whole bracket right now, except for Kentucky. Pittsburgh is playing extraordinarily well in the defensive end, and they are hitting their shots, especially guys like Julius Page and Brandon Knight. Brandon Knight started out the season shooting the ball horribly, but he has really picked it up over the last month, and that team is playing with a chip on its shoulder. I think they're going to be really difficult to beat because they're tough and hard-nosed.
They are tough, but the big question once again is health. Chevy Troutman and Brandon Knight, if they're healthy, certainly then Pittsburgh's got a great chance to advance.
Minor flesh wounds, they'll be fine.
I'll give you one other thing to worry about: free throw shooting. Got to hit them down the stretch, and we'll see about Pittsburgh and their ability to do that. They're going to stroke them home? All right. That's what the experts say.
Out of the West, guys, of course, Arizona, the #1 seed. And if you're just tuning in, those percentages we're showing you to the right of the team, that's what America thinks on ESPN.com. The percentage of voters who think this team's going to get through to the Sweet 16, and almost 96% of you think Arizona's going to get through to the Sweet 16. Gonzaga is the favorite. Now, they're no longer kind of the Cinderella darling team. I mean, they didn't have Corey Violet, their big guy, in the conference championship. They better bring all the big guys and all hands on deck if they're going to play Arizona.
Well, the thing they got going for them is they played such a tough pre-conference schedule. They really don't fear anyone, but I don't think they have enough to be able to beat Arizona with the combination of Gardner and Walton, a tremendous tandem.
Illinois, very dangerous. Leadership, D. Brown. He's taken the team over. He's really mature. We can talk about Brian Cook. We can talk about what Sean Harrington does shooting the threes. We can talk about what Roger Powell does for this team. But D. Brown's got to be the leader. I love the way he explodes to the basket. He can dish it. He can shoot the threes. And with his leadership now, I think this Illinois team, after winning the Big Ten championship today, is a very solid team to make a run at the Final Four.
Bottom half of the bracket, Dick, while you were flying up here in your Learjet or Gulfstream, whatever it was, Mike Krzyzewski was at the postgame talking about how emotional he felt for this Duke team, how he felt they've been kind of unappreciated all season long. And a big percentage thinks they're going right back to the Sweet 16 to take on Kansas.
Well, I think there's no doubt in my mind that they've been unappreciated from the standpoint that expectations are so high. The standard there is so high. Bottom line is they lost so much from last year with Dunleavy, Boozer, and Williams, and they've responded and having a great year basically with a young team. Very dangerous team, but I agree with when you talk about the shooter. Corver can flat out shoot, as Jay said, and he can carry a club, but I got Duke moving by them, setting up a Duke-Kansas matchup.
Well, Kansas, when they lost Wayne Simmons, scheme is very simple. Put Jeff Graves in that paint, and when he started to play, he's a double-double guy that gives him that extra punch to take the pressure off Nick Collison. It also allows Heinrich to become a better shooter on the perimeter, and when he makes his moves, he knows how to seal, he can score, and from that standpoint, if he stays out of foul trouble, I really think that's going to be the key to Roy Williams' team. Even though they don't have depth, I just think Collison and Graves inside, Langford and Heinrich, as well as Miles, that team will play a lot of zone. This team's going to move forward.
I think they'll move forward to the Sweet 16, but I think the injury to Wayne Simeon is the single most significant injury of any team in the country right now. They just don't have that big body and that enforcer in there.
But I think their size inside could be a problem for Duke because they are physical, big inside, like Maryland is.
All right, indeed. We haven't completed even past the Sweet 16. Let's go over to the other side and see what those guys think.
I want to give some opinions. Why don't we give opinions? Opinions. I want opinions.
All right, we'll hear some opinions right now, Dick, and we've seen what America's opinion is about the West region. Very decisive in who they think will move into the Sweet 16. You guys as well?
Absolutely. Arizona is going to be a little bit too much for Gonzaga at the guard spot. Illinois too strong for Notre Dame inside. And that Duke-Creighton game is going to be very interesting because of the shooters. Creighton likes to run a little elbow rub screen for Kyle Korver. Duke is going to have a difficult time defending that, but we still like the Blue Devils to move on.
Believe it or not, Gonzaga feels cheated that they didn't play Arizona last season when they lost to Wyoming. They don't fear the Wildcats.
Well, they'll have an opportunity if they can get past that first-round game. You know, if you're going to win a national championship, sometimes you got to have a little bit of good fortune, and it doesn't hurt to have a point guard with some serious speed and ball handling skills like an hour number 7 buzzer beater.
Cameron brings it into Tyus Edney. Edney with the basketball into the front court. Down through the lane. Goes down. Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby! How in the world did he go the entire way?
We're only halfway through the madness. Our experts have broken it all down. You voted. So who's it going to be? We're taking you from the Sweet 16 to national champion. And the teams who are all dressed up with no place to go. Comparing notes on the tourney's greatest snubs. Villanova snubbed the longest winning streak in women's college basketball. Do they hold the secret to hanging the Huskies out to dry? Plus, 4 down, 6 to go. We'll unveil the #1 buzzer beater in NCAA history, as voted on by you.
Holy mackerel! Holy mackerel!
It's recess, but Bracketology 101 is back in session after this, so bring your notebooks.
Max, you're killing me.
Hey, everybody jamming. Hey, man. She jamming, they jamming too. Can a brother get a Bud Light, man?
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light.
Hey, America, you think your family's funny? We found 8 families who believe their lives are funny enough to be a sitcom. From sisters with hot flashes to hot twin sisters, ex-punk rockers to garage banders, Mr. Mom to Manic Mom, and coupon clippers to hillbillies. The competition is fierce in this crazy family feud, but only one household will win the chance to fly to Hollywood and star in their very own sitcom. My Life is a Sitcom, Monday at 8, 7 Central on ABC Family Channel.
Made you turn, made you look, made you ask what was that?
The auto show may be over, but you have one last chance to save. Your local Ford store has extended the $500 auto show bonus cash to March 31st. That totals up to $3,500 cash back on Ford Taurus. Or lease a 2003 Taurus SE 4-door for just $255 a month with $19.95 due at signing. Don't wait. These deals end March 31st, only at your local Ford store.
If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again.
If your kids think this is the Big Dipper, or this is where you go fishing, and that this is wildlife, then you all need a trip to the Sport, Travel, and Outdoor Show. The show is your best guide to an entire world of adventure with over 200 travel exhibitors. You'll also see all the latest gear to enjoy the outdoors from the best names in the business. So come to the Sport, Travel, and Outdoor Show March 15th through the 23rd at the IX Center. It's where everybody starts to get away.
The NCAA Men's Tournament Selection Special, presented by Staples.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mark McGrath, and I am a Trojan alumni, USC Trojans, baby. They might squeak in this year, but this is what you do to fill in your bracket, man. It's wide open this year, so who knows? One of those years, man, one of those water cooler years where you can't believe 16 beat 1. It's going to happen this year. All right, guys, enjoy the tournament, and so will I. Trojans, I don't know. UCLA sucks, too, though.
Hey, Sugar Ray, UCLA Bruins, give them a little more respect. They are the history of college basketball. You've got no shot with those USC Trojans. Speaking of respect, the Kansas Jayhawks are a pretty good pick in round 1. Kansas has won its opening round game 19 straight times. It last lost its first round game way back in 1978 to, you got it, Mark McGrath, UCLA.
Yeah, no UCLA. Their streak is snapped after all those Sweet 16 appearances and national titles. North Carolina, of course, not in there. Also out, BC, Seton Hall, Tennessee, Texas Tech. Dick, which of these snub teams has the strongest case?
Well, I think right there, you look at Seton Hall, my alma mater. They had a 9-game winning streak. They beat Pittsburgh. They beat Notre Dame. I thought they should have been in. BC can make a case for it. And I thought Auburn. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. When you beat the likes of Wofford, Georgia State, get beat by Western Kentucky by 19, Western Michigan by 18, you get blown away in those games, and you beat teams like South Carolina State, Southeast Louisiana. I mean, that schedule is Cupcake City.
All right.
Cupcake City.
Who gets shafted?
Forget the cupcakes, because when you look at the end of the season, you can't go 5-9 out of 14 games and say you get an NCAA bid. But Boston College won 7 of the last 9. They beat NC State 93-81, but they also beat UConn, blew out UConn 95-71 here in Hartford. They should have been the team to go in.
That's the one quality win they have, though, is Connecticut. Let's be honest. Which snub would you vote in on ESPN.com? It's a tie. The General getting some support despite the 6-10 in the Big 12. 38%.
I wonder what would have happened had the General been credit for that win down in Oklahoma. Think about that with that clock situation.
Buzzer beater. Countdown continues back to 1990.
1 second left. Burrell takes the ball, looking inbound, loops it far up court for George, who catches it, turns around, shoots, and he got it! He hit it! He hit the shot! And the Huskies have won it! The Huskies have won it!
Introducing Intel Centrino mobile technology. The new wireless laptop technology designed to help you untangle, unburden, and unwire your life.
Once they hear you, it won't matter what color you are.
My friends think you're crazy.
Yo, your friends don't even know me. You got the money, you know what to do. If something's gonna happen, it needs to happen now.
The 8 Mile DVD is packed with exclusive freestyle rap battles, plus the real story from Eminem.
If I lost the battle, my whole life is over.
They're calling your name.
Own 8 Mile on DVD Tuesday. DVD bonus materials also available uncensored.
You got the love, we got the shoe. The New Balance 771, only a Foot Locker.
Elias, I have to go back to my convention. Yeah, I know, but I have a convention. Bueno.
Come on.
I have to go to my convention. I know. I wish I could stay. We got married. I have to go. I love you. I'll call you. But you know, one more thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you smell so good.
As cool as the early skies of
Chili's to go and college hoops. Tune into college basketball on ESPN and ESPN2.
Welcome back now. We're to the Sweet 16. We're going to begin with Texas. We haven't talked a lot about this Connecticut team that fought valiantly, lost the Big East Championship game to Pittsburgh.
I guarantee you Connecticut would give Texas a great game. The reason why, we talk about Okafor, we know what he can do inside. He makes you play differently. His presence allows you, TJ, I don't know if you're going to get in there and get those shots you want to take, because Okafor can block shots, he can rebound. And when they rebound, they run. That's the best of Ben Gordon. That's the best of Talik Brown. And I love the way Rashad Anderson has stepped up to lead that bench to where he comes in and shoots points. This is a very dangerous Connecticut team for Texas to play.
Yeah, I really like Okafor, too. I think he's a shot changer, and he's a guy that's become a good scorer as well. But then you think about the other matchup. Maryland and Florida had a really outstanding game earlier this year when the Gators went in, that's right, to College Park and beat them there at the Comcast Center. But it was one heck of a basketball game. I think this Maryland team's going to have a little chip on their shoulder. I think Gary has done a phenomenal job this year when you think about the fact that he lost 3 guys to the NBA and lost 4 players. Wow, if Wilcox came back to school, this team would really be dynamite.
This is what America thinks. The 4 teams will advance to the Sweet 16. Wake Forest is interesting. Obviously, they have Josh Howard, the All-American, but the other 7 guys in the rotation are all freshmen and sophomores. And, you know, Prosser very unsure how they're going to react in the ACC tournament, and ditto for the NCAA tournament.
I'll tell you why people are picking Syracuse. When you look at Wake Forest, there was 2 games they played. One was at Marquette, where Marquette really beat them up. They were the leading rebounding team in the nation going up to Marquette, but it didn't happen. Travis Diener and Dwyane Wade made it happen for them, but they got beat up inside by Scott Merritt and Robert Jackson. That was the first signal. The rain, snow, the blizzard in Washington, D.C., that game, I thought Maryland just blew out Wake, so Wake is vulnerable.
Well, they're vulnerable because they're so young, but I'm telling you, I like Danilus. He's outstanding inside-outside player, quickness on the perimeter, and a guy that's going to be a star, Justin Gray. Not be a good player, he's going to be a star in the ACC. And Josh Howard is capable of carrying a team on their back. But I love Syracuse here. I like their size, I like Warwick, and I just love Carmelo Anthony. I just think he's one of the special players in college basketball.
Still, though, with Oklahoma getting shipped to the East as a 1 seed, there's a perception out there their draw to get to the Final Four not that difficult. Back to Rece and Jay and Andy, see what they think.
No respect for the Big East.
All right, Chris, we saw what America thinks. These are the ESPN picks in the Sweet 16 in the South. We like the top seed, and it was a very close vote by the American voters there between Maryland and Florida, and you guys like the Terps.
Yeah, I like the Terps because I think this will be more of a half-court game, even though Florida up-tempos the game at times. This will be more of a game that's played in the half-court, and I like Maryland's strength, especially with that flex offense that they run along the baseline. The rollback guy is going to be open more often than not.
And Connecticut's most erratic position is the point guard, which happens to be Texas's best position with TJ Ford.
Okay, let's go down and look at the East, and the South will face the East when we get to the Final Four. The top seed in that bracket is Oklahoma, but the Mississippi State Bulldogs, a couple of great defensive teams. You like the Dogs to get to 8?
I do like Mississippi State to get to the Elite 8, simply because they've got outstanding defensive guards with Derek Zimmerman putting pressure on the ball, Timmy Bowers and Michael Ignerski shooting threes, and Mario Austin inside. And don't forget about Ontario Harper, who is a solid rebounder.
And get the game tape. They beat Oklahoma back in New Orleans in December. They can do it again.
It was a very low-scoring, tough game, and it's probably what you'll see if those 2 teams were to meet up again. Both teams play excellent defense. So we have a little bit of a surprise among these guys who've picked, remember, 6 of the last 8 Final Four teams in the last 2 years, Chris.
Talk them up, talk them up. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
I'm pumping them, baby.
I know. Mississippi State did beat them once. Let's go to the Midwest now, and it's going to be Kentucky marching. I just get the feeling that America doesn't really know enough about this Dayton team and just how good they can be.
Well, Dayton's very good, but Kentucky's defense has really changed since that loss to Louisville. Tubby Smith does a great job of teaching basic drills, 1-on-1 drills, 2-on-2 drills, 3-on-3 drills, and then they do the team drills. But they don't just do it the first 2 weeks of practice. They do it all season long. And this is why they just really smother the ball. They're quick to the passing lanes, and they also know how to rebound. And from those characteristics, I think that's why Kentucky is so good, because of how they now put themselves in position to rotate, block shots, force you to play crazy, forcing your turnovers. Kentucky is a solid defensive team in the country.
Oh, I love Kentucky because they got Ashley Judd as well.
Okay. Zooming to the West, America thinks that form is going to hold in this bracket. You know, Bill Walton reacting to the fact that most people, the majority, think that Arizona has the toughest road to the Final Four. How do you see this draw unfolding in this week?
Well, I disagree with the big redhead. Bottom line is there's no doubt in my mind they got the toughest. And I could see them moaning a little bit with that draw with Kansas and with Duke. Bottom line is they got a tough draw. But I think Illinois, so young on a backcourt, I think Illinois' future is going to be incredible with D. Brown and Deron Williams. They've done a phenomenal job this year. But I give the edge to Jason Gardner and to Luke Walton. I think they march on in that game.
Hey, this could be a payback game. Don't forget the Arizona-Kansas game, how Arizona came back and blew them out in the second half. This could be the one game where Arizona says, okay, now it's Kansas' turn. So I don't think that's going to be an easy game if they play again, because I believe in paybacks.
I believe that nothing is easy when you play the Fighting Illini, and they are dialed in right now. Rece, what do you think?
Well, we'll see what everybody thinks. We see what America thought, and you look in the Midwest there in Kentucky, Pittsburgh. You like the top two seeds to make it to the round of 8.
Well, Kentucky's playing better than anybody right now. And give some credit to Cliff Hawkins at the point guard position for Kentucky, because he's long-armed, quick, and an outstanding defender. In Pittsburgh, they're just going to be too strong for Marquette. Pittsburgh is strong inside with Ontario Lett and Siobhan Troutman, and they've got the strongest guards in the country. Those guys are absolute winners.
And the selection committee clearly made Kentucky the #1 team overall, giving them the easiest road to the Elite 8.
You go down to the West and tell me that round of 16, that is not worth every penny you'll pay in Anaheim to get into that Sweet 16 with that group.
Absolutely brutal, especially the Arizona-Illinois game. Illinois, one of the top 5 defensive teams in the country, holding their opponents to under 40% shooting. It's going to be very difficult to get rebounds in that ball game. The key is going to be rebounds and loose balls in that Arizona-Illinois game. And Illinois, they are a very well-coached ball club.
Senior leadership, Kansas, that's why they beat Duke. Nick Collison, Kirk Heiner.
Transition game is why they beat Duke. They can get the ball up and down the floor better than Blue Devils can.
It certainly will be interesting to see if we get Arizona and Kansas again after what happened in Lawrence during the season. You know, in order to win this tournament, sometimes you have to make adjustments. At one time, Bob Knight would not recruit junior college kids. As we count down the greatest buzzer beaters of all time in NCAA tournament history, we take you back to 1987 when Bob Knight, well, got smart.
Smart takes the shot. Indiana wins the championship. Keith Smart is the hero.
Join ESPN Classic on a buzzer-beating journey. It's Pontiac Classic performances. 3 days of insane games. 16 of the sweetest plays in tournament history. 16 breathtaking moments that define what March Madness is all about.
It's over!
Pontiac Classic performances starts Monday only on ESPN Classic. To get ESPN Classic, call your cable or satellite provider.
Why do men climb mountains? Because they can. And now you can climb mountains like never before thanks to Arctic Cat's Down and Dirty sales event. Prices are down, way down. Payments are down, interest rates are down. And your down payment isn't down, it's out. And during our special Down and Dirty sales event, we'll throw in a worn winch valued at $399 for only $69. Get down to your Arctic Cat dealer and prepare to get dirty. Arctic Cat, more to go on.
I'm a regular guy, but sometimes I can be such a dunce. Like when I go on vacation. I always wonder if I'm paying too much for the rental car. Then I heard about the Dollar Rent-A-Car website at dollar.com. The rates were so good, I couldn't contain my excitement. Saving money was so quick and easy, and wow, my Dollar rental car was right at the airport. Next time, you know where to go.
NCAA Women's Basketball Championship begins Saturday on ESPN.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fisher, IndyCar driver for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing.
We haven't forgotten the women, so here's a few things you need to remember when filling out your women's tournament bracket.
Thank you very much, Sarah. You drive too fast for me, but you can drive a Big East team to win it all because the last 3 women's champions have all come from the Big East Conference. Of course, University of Connecticut Huskies in 2002 last year and 2000, and between them, 2001, it was Notre Dame.
And the last 5 champions among the women have been a 1 seed, and these are the 1 seeds for this year's women's tournament. Of course, all 63 games will be on ESPN, ESPN2, or ESPN Full Court. UConn, Tennessee, Duke, and LSU are the top 4 seeds in that bracket. Joined now by Stacey Dale-Schumann, who will be my partner as we take you through the women's tournament this year. And Stacey, the UConn winning streak is over. They won 70 in a row. Villanova got the victory in the Big East Crown. Did they provide a blueprint on how to beat UConn?
Well, they may have provided a blueprint, but the issue here is most teams do not play like Villanova. They play a very atypical style of basketball, and that is walk the ball up the floor. You see here on the monitor, they just walked. They're actually using at least the entire shot clock before they're getting a shot off. Most teams don't do that. So what do you do if you're a normal team, so to speak? You attack Diana Taurasi. Get her in foul trouble. She's not a great defender. Put her on the bench. They're not the same team. And, of course, you also have to limit your mistakes. They are infamous for going on runs. They love to score in transition. And, of course, finally, you got to play pressure defense on these young players. These young players are extremely, I would say, fragile as they head into an NCAA tournament situation. You cannot afford to make mistakes in the NCAA tournament because it is such a pressurized environment, and these players need to be attacked if you were to have any type of hope to beat them.
And quickly, who can win it all aside from UConn? Who do you think will win it all?
Who can win it all? I think Texas has a great shot. Not a lot of people are talking about them, but I think Tennessee and Duke are the 2 top teams we have to really look at. Why? Experience factor. I'm a stickler for experience. If you get into that tournament, you have got to have players that have been there before, 2 teams that have those.
All right, Stacey, we'll look forward to the women's starting, and we'll see what America thinks now about exactly who can beat UConn. Villanova has done it. Duke, LSU, Tennessee, or Nova. A lot of support for Duke, despite the fact that UConn handled them in Cameron earlier this season. Bracketology 101 rolls on after this.
Morning. Before we start, if everyone could move page 15 2 pages up in the deck. And if your page 5 is fuzzy, just pass it down.
Unprofessional documents.
Page 8.
Lead to messy meetings.
Just remove it.
But at Staples, you'll get professional quality copying and printing. Our certified associates and 3-step quality process make sure your job is done right.
And this goes up.
Quality copying and printing. Staples. That was easy.
Sorry to bother you. My car broke down. Can I use your phone?
Come in. I've just got one little rule of this house, though.
Oh, really? What's that?
You've got to dial 10-10-220.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm not going to sign up for anything. I'm a free spirit.
Okay.
And besides, it's so cheap. 99 cents for all calls up to 20 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, don't thank me. Thank that cute baseball player that's on TV.
Dial 10-10-220, then 1 and the number.
Looking for a bigger, better email service? Introducing the new and improved Adelphia PowerLink. With PowerLink's all-new email service, you can send and receive movies, pictures, and audio files like never before. Our new head of household features let parents set up additional email accounts for the whole family. And with Spam Patrol, our new filtering software, your mailbox won't be stuffed with unwanted email. So hang up on dial-up and hook into PowerLink today. Sign up today and get this great offer, but hurry, time is limited. Order PowerLink from Adelphia. It's life wide open.
Hey now, you're an all-star.
Get your game on. It's Toyota's nationwide spring sales event, where value begins with quality Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Now, for 5 days only, get an extra $500 off your best deal on all these 03 cars, all these SUVs, or all these trucks. That's 10 models, 5 days, $500 off your best deal. That's over and above all other factory incentives. Look for the coupon in your paper and see your Northern Ohio Toyota dealer before it all ends Monday.
Rolling on to the Elite Eight round in Bracketology 101. Texas has to win a couple of games, but if they get to San Antonio, it's kind of a rarity. You know, Michigan State got to the Final Four. They played at the Palace in '98. Carolina played in Greensboro, got to the Final Four. Very tough to beat the Longhorns if they can get there.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I think the adrenaline and the home crowd with the inspiration will be certainly special. TJ Ford will be in high gear, and certainly inside Thomas, a very active guy on the glass. But you still got to win basketball games. The bottom line is, I really believe they got some tough teams to face, and it's not going to be as easy as people believe. But certainly it's an edge, Digger. It's a big edge when you play in your home state.
Well, they got the inside, they got the outside, but the guy in the perimeter, Brandon Mouton, brings them a whole new dimension. Very explosive to the basket. They've got a lot of good athletes on this team that are very physical, and they love to get out and run. Mouton is the best getting down at the floor, and he also can pull up and shoot the threes. A very, very capable guy of taking over a game, and Texas will need that to get to the Final Four.
You saw that 70% of the people on ESPN.com think Texas will reach the Final Four, and that's a potential semifinal matchup against Oklahoma, a team that they beat twice in the regular season. How do you see the Sooners ship to the East against Syracuse? The game will be in Albany.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You take a look at Oklahoma, the bottom line is they're going to need Evie Ora to be healthy. He can't have the struggle that he's having now with that left wrist. They'll need some scoring on him. They got outstanding backcourt play. I mean, they don't get any tougher down the stretch than Hollis Price. He's a great free throw shooter. He wants the ball late in the game. He's clutch, and he's absolutely sensational. And Quantis White is so underrated as a defensive stopper. He will lock you up defensively.
We already know that the gang over there has Mississippi State taking out Oklahoma in that region. Let's go to the South and East story. Back to Jay, Andy, and Rece.
All right, Chris, and we have that Texas-Maryland matchup. Now, America liked Texas and Florida. You guys like the Terps, and the Longhorns going against the Terps there in San Antonio. You like the Horns to go to the Final Four?
A few reasons. Not only TJ Ford, but Brandon Mouton, an outstanding shooter. Sid Mill-Harris can shoot it, as can Brian Boddicker. But James Thomas is one of the keys because he's a guy that can get you a double-double every single game.
And Rick Barnes told me that TJ Ford is obsessed with winning the national title. And those Maryland guys, they already did it.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, I had Texas and Maryland in the Final Four. That will not be possible as we move down now into the East region. We like Mississippi State against Oklahoma. This is a tall order against Syracuse in Albany in their backyard, but you like the Dogs.
This is a really tough call, but we're going to go with experience here over Syracuse and their freshmen, not only Carmelo Anthony, but also Billy Edlin and Jerry McNamara. I like Mississippi State, again, because of their defense. They really get out and guard you, and I think Derek Zimmerman is the key to that because he puts great pressure on the ball, and that gives his teammates confidence to get out into passing lanes, and they're a very good rebounding team, especially on the defensive end.
Timmy Bowers, too, when he plays well offensively, they are very, very difficult to handle. They get Mario Austin awake, too. Potential national championship team, Chris.
So you guys got Mississippi State getting to the Final Four in your ESPN bracket. What about Kentucky? Could be shades of '96 when they were both there. Kentucky and Pittsburgh is America's choice to get to the Elite Eight. And then 86% of the people think Kentucky is moving right to the Final Four. To San Antonio, to New Orleans.
Well, I think in my mind, they're going to the Big Easy. I think they're going to win the national championship. I think they're so versatile. They're multidimensional. They're inside, outside. Estill on the interior has been a very effective player. Bogans has had a sensational year. Fitch can hurt you. Hayes can hurt you as a Warrior. This is a deep, talented team, Digger.
But let's back up to Marquette. This team, to me, has a great chance of getting to that Final Four. Dwyane Wade, one of the premier player scorers in the country. Very physical, very strong, complements the great defense that Tom Crean teaches. And with Diener on the perimeter running the show, this man is solid. And I'll tell you, this team from top to bottom is one team I would not want to play in my bracket.
Meanwhile, in the West, which has been deemed by far the toughest region by really most everybody here. Arizona and Kansas, again, America picking a chalk bracket, as you might expect, but Arizona not getting nearly the support of some of the other teams to get to the Final Four, only about 2/3.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I like Arizona because of their experience. I think you got to do something about, when you talk about experience, to try to control Jason Gardner. I know he had a bad game in that game at UCLA, 2 for 20 Digger. That's not going to happen. Walton's the most unselfish player. Fry has improved on the interior. Dangerous team.
This team came back for one mission, to get to the Final Four, and it's going to be senior leadership. You got to love Rick Anderson inside, but it's Jason Gardner with what he does. He knows how to run a team. He stayed, but Luke Walton's another guy that can do it. You see Anderson shooting on the perimeter. Very, very intelligent player. When you look at Luke Walton, I love the way he plays. One thing about Lute Olson, he's not afraid to play that matchup zone. He's got the depth. He wants to run. He wants to shoot. And with Channing Frye inside, they play that matchup zone. They're a great running team, and that's what they want to do to get to that national championship game.
I agree with you guys. I think it's very lame the committee put Arizona and Kentucky to potentially meet the same semifinal bracket for the sake of geography in the first couple rounds. That is lame. Let's see if
I agree.
Let's see if this gang has Arizona and Kentucky moving to the Final Four.
Reward the best. They should have been playing in a final.
You know, I tell you, I agree with you guys. It's a shame that will happen before the final if everybody moves through. We've got Kentucky and Pittsburgh in the Midwest in the Elite Eight, and we like the Cats to go on to New Orleans.
What a brutal matchup that is. I'm not sure this is fair either, because I think Pittsburgh is the best of the 2 seeds, and having to play the best of the 1 seeds, that's a little bit rough on Pittsburgh. That's a game you better bring your mouthpiece to, because there are going to be a lot of body shots and head shots in that one. That's the toughest team is going to win that one.
I was in that locker room Friday night in New Orleans. Kentucky is as intense and driven a team as I've seen in the NCAA tournament. They are following Tubby Smith's lead. They are driven to get to New Orleans.
Still no uncontested shot since the first half of the Vanderbilt game back in January. In the West, Arizona and Kansas, another 1-2 matchup. America agreeing with our projections here.
This Kansas team reminds me a little bit of their team in 1991. They might have been sold short, but they've got the capability not only to get to the Final Four, but to the national title game. But I'm going to go with Arizona simply because of their offensive rebounding and their ability to score the ball off turnovers. I think they've got a little bit too much depth for Kansas. And with Kansas, if you take them out of their running game and keep them to a half-court game, you can beat the Jayhawks. Missouri proved that, and it's been proven throughout the year. You've got to stop Kirk Hinrich and Nick Collison and make the others beat you. And remember, Hinrich is almost half of their three-point attack. Kansas does not hit threes like they did last year.
So no matter what we think about the Arizona-Kentucky semifinal, we have them both going into the Final Four. We'll see if we get a Kentucky-Mississippi State rematch in New Orleans when we break down the rest of the way, Chris.
I'm not going to complain too loudly. They both have to win 4 games, Arizona and Kentucky, just to get to New Orleans. All right, despite all the talk about the parity and the balance and the unpredictability of the NCAA tournament, take a look at the Final Four as voted on by America. Folks, those are the 4 #1 seeds. Where's the sense of adventure? Where's going out on the limb? The Bracketology guys at least picked Mississippi State to come out of the East. Hey, Digger, it's time for buzzer beater number 4 as voted on by ESPN.com. You remember this one?
Notre Dame's defense slides down to the opposite end of the floor, and there are 8 seconds to go. Ames against Paxson. 5 seconds. Inside. Ames scores with 2 seconds. 1 second on the clock. It is all over. It is all over.
You want neat and tidy. You want flat and unobstructed. A little consistency, for Pete's sake. Tired of the surprises? Had it with the water in your shoes and the sand in your cuffs? Try bowling.
The Players' Championship begins Thursday, March 27th on ESPN.
We're ready in advance, no matter when or where. We're ready in advance, whatever's waiting there. Around these parts, trouble doesn't stand a chance. For the best parts, people and price, we're ready in advance.
Stop by any Advance store today and enter to win the 2004 championship in Advance sweepstakes.
Little boy asks his neighbors why they're always working on their yard. Neighbor looks up. Nothing more relaxing. Nothing wrong with getting your hands dirty, she adds. Little boy's dad asks how they manage it all. Neighbor nods across the yard. Nothing runs like a deer. John Deere lawn and garden tractors. Durability, precision, versatility, and exclusive support for everyone who puts more into their yard and expects more out of their tractor.
The word is out on Willard. One of the smartest, creepiest movies ever. Oh my God. Crispin Glover gives his most brilliantly disturbing performance. What can we do? Willard brings the Hitchcock tradition back to the movies. Crispin Glover is...
Willard! They'll do anything I tell them.
Rated PG-13, now playing.
Welcome back to Bracketology 101, getting down near the end. You've seen our official ESPN.com Final Four. You'll have their championship game picks in a minute. Show you what America is voting on. And guys, Kentucky and Arizona, this would be, I guess, an unpopular but very, very entertaining second semifinal game in NOLA on Saturday. How do you see that?
I would have liked to see deja vu 97 when they played for the championship game. I like Kentucky moving on. I just like their depth. I like their defensive tenacity and multi-dimensional. So difficult to scout because they have so many weapons.
I like Arizona out west. I think they've got a chance, but no. I'll take Illinois. I think Illinois is going to make a run in that. And in the South, I think Maryland's going to show up with their senior experience. They've been there before. And in the East, Dick, I think that's up for grabs when you look at what Syracuse might do this season.
Well, my Final Four is Oklahoma in the East, Florida in the South, Kentucky, Midwest, Arizona in the West.
So you've got Illinois and Maryland there. You're getting to the Final Four.
I really do.
To reiterate.
I just like the brackets. I like how they play. I think their defense is going to show up. I like the senior experience. I think Brian Cook's on a mission, and I really think that Dean Brown is doing very, very well running that team. But Maryland, to me, Blake and Nicholas will show up. Gary Williams will have this team ready to play with Holden and Randall in the paint, and their younger players are ready to blend in.
Well, let me just tell you this, Mr. Phelps. I'm writing it down right now. Illinois and Maryland, don't you change 2 weeks from now. Don't you change. I'm writing it down. You heard. Illinois. I'm writing it down. Illinois.
I like the physical contact over here. It's like an Illinois game in the Lucas Johnson era. Rece, what do you think?
Florida, Kentucky,
I was waiting for a headbutt out of that or something.
So we don't touch each other.
You know, when you get to America's bracket, they picked all the #1 seeds, and, you know, we got all but one. We did go out on a limb with Mississippi State, and now you get to the national semifinals in New Orleans, and we have that Texas-Mississippi State matchup, which we saw last year in the NCAA tournament.
Well, first of all, remember, a 5 getting to the Final Four is not that rare. Indiana last season got there, but Indiana got to the title game. We see Texas advancing to the title game.
Yeah, Texas and Kentucky just too strong, I think, for these teams. It'll be a great Final Four no matter what happens, but these two teams get into the final, we think.
All right, so we have Texas and Kentucky going at it in the national championship game. We'll tell you what you guys think about the winner of that game so far. Don't give it away just yet.
I'm going with a different Final Four. I want Holy Cross, Central Michigan, Penn.
You just want to
UNCW.
You just want to look like a genius like you did in picking the teams that got in. You were right on it. I keep pumping him up, Chris, I'm telling you.
Bracketology.
Yeah, but see, they get a reputation, then they get all conservative. That's what happens. The Dan Patrick Show, if you're not done with opinions, you're on the show.
Well, let me just say this, Chris. He gives them a lot of love over there. I want to go work right with Rece Davis. He gives all kinds of love. You never give us any love.
These chairs have rollers. You can head on over there. Dan Patrick Show, 9:30 Eastern Time. All kinds of bracketology discussion. And, of course, the tournament tips off now less than 48 hours. The Bulldogs from UNC Asheville and Texas Southern, 7 o'clock Eastern, Tuesday night, the opening round game from Dayton. We'll be back. Final picks coming up.
Introducing Intel Centrino mobile technology. The new wireless laptop technology designed to help you untangle, unburden, and unwire your life.
Rejuvenate your 75,000-mile engine with Pennzoil High Mileage Vehicle. The motor oil specially formulated for the needs of your older, wiser vehicle. Pennzoil, we're driving protection.
My friends think you're crazy.
Yo, your friends don't even know me.
One DVD will take you further inside.
I have a feeling about you.
With exclusive freestyle rap battles, plus the real story from Eminem.
If I lost the battle, my whole life is over.
They're calling your name.
8 Mile. Only DVD Tuesday. DVD bonus materials also available uncensored.
Hello, kiddies. I'm Alice Cooper. Here's some information for filling out your bracket, and if you don't do it right, I know where you live.
Hey, Alice, although you do scare me a little bit, welcome to my nightmare. I won't be afraid to pick a few Cinderellas to reach the Sweet 16. A team seeded 10th or lower has made the Sweet 16 an amazing 7 straight years. Last year, it was the Missouri Tigers of Quinn Snyder, seeded 12th, that did it.
Boomer, thanks for your help. And in the Alice Cooper theme here, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're going to get right down national championship picks. It's the latest championship game in history, April 7th in the Superdome. A very weird background, not great sight lines. That's the Chris Webber timeout venue. Weird things happen down there in the Superdome. How do you see it, Dick?
Well, I see it Kentucky, and I got Florida going in a championship game. They got Texas right there. I have Kentucky, Florida, SEC, man, to me, arguably the best conference in America. It was a barn burner on the last game of the season, and I got Kentucky winning the national title, the 8th time. Tubby Smith to celebrate, the passion blue and white fans to celebrate, and it will be absolutely an incredible time in Lexington, especially after they had lost to Louisville. They're not losing another game the rest of this year.
Very interesting, Mr. Vitale, because I look at the East. Albany is the regional. Syracuse will win that East regional and get to the Final Four. I love Maryland because of their experience. I think they take over the South. I like Kentucky, yes, in the Midwest because they are the best team in the country playing. I like Illinois in the West. Kentucky plays Illinois in the West semi, in the Midwest semi, and, of course, Syracuse plays Maryland. I can see a Kentucky-Maryland national championship game because of Maryland having 5 seniors, being to 2 straight Final Fours. Blake and Nicholas will show up. Williams will coach. They'll play the zone like they did last year when it counted, and Kentucky will win the national championship.
He's on a limb. He's out there on a limb.
The impossible dream to reach.
Dick, when you beat 7 #1 teams in your career, you got to be a risk taker. I'm a risk taker. I love this action. I'm going for it. But I can understand why you were never in that position.
You'll never be Alice Cooper's backup singer, Dick. I just want to warn you. Time now as we continue our buzzer beater countdown for the play that made Valpo the lovable underdogs of America. Bryce Drew, remember that name?
They've got to go the length of the court with 2.5 left. Sykes long pass. Bill Jenkins through 3 for the win. Go! Valpo wins! Valpo wins! Valpo wins! Wow! It's a 3, and the Crusaders have moved into the second round.
I will share with you that in our backyard we do have a 3-point line, and we have shot many of those shots, so it was really wonderful to see Bryce hit that one.
Got the love, we got the shoe. The New Balance 771, only at Foot Locker.
There's only one night that can give you this much to talk about. Who you're with, who you're wearing, highest hemline, lowest neckline.
God forbid anyone should think of this as a competition.
I love the looks of you, the lore of you, the east, west, north, and the south of you.
The race begins when the red carpet rolls out. Steve Martin hosts the Academy Awards live, ABC Sunday, March 23rd. It's as real as it gets.
Made you turn, made you look, made you ask what was that?
The auto show may be over, but you have one last chance to save. Your local Ford store has extended the $500 auto show bonus cash to March 31st. That totals up to $3,500 cash back on Ford Taurus. Or lease a 2003 Taurus SE 4-door for just $255 a month with $19.95 due at signing. Don't wait. These deals end March 31st, only at your local Ford store.
If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again.
Van and Truck Alternatives, introducing Vortex Spray-On Liners, the ultimate in bed protection, available in various colors. And at Van and Truck Alternatives, we make time for all the details. The Vortex Special Formula creates a tough liner that's abrasion and chemical resistant with a lifetime warranty. And this protection is not just for trucks. The uses for the Vortex liner are limitless, from wood decks to concrete walls. Van and Truck Alternatives, we go the extra mile.
This is Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you need to know who's going to open up a can of whoop-ass on who, maybe this will help you out when you're filling out the bracket.
Hey, Stone Cold, I don't know about a whatever, but I do know it would be a good selection to have the #1 seed from the Midwest advance to the Final Four. It's happened 5 times in the last 7 years. Last year was Kansas. In 2000 and 1999, it was Michigan State. In 1997, Minnesota. 1996, it was Kentucky. Pretty impressive.
A little history, and Chris Berman brought it to us. It's the bottom line, though, because Stone Cold said so. They're playing the national championship game on your birthday, Andy Katz, so I'm going to let you unveil our winner for the national championship, Texas or Kentucky.
I got 2 words for you. Toughness, titles. Toughness wins titles. I'll throw 3 in there. Toughness wins titles. Kentucky, our national champion.
And Jay, tell us exactly why that tough defense of Kentucky has been so overwhelming.
Because of Tubby Smith. This team plays with character, and they play with chemistry and togetherness. They play 5 as 1 on the defensive end. And Tubby Smith has never gotten the credit he deserves as being a great coach, and that's exactly what he is. They can take away their strengths. Here against Georgia, they are shadowing Jarvis Hayes all over. They are communicating, letting people through screens. You cannot get open against this team to get easy shots. They get through screens. Nobody gets screened. This is an outstanding defensive club, and I have been with this team in practice watching Tubby Smith work, and I'm telling you, he is an absolute maestro, not only in practice, but on the sidelines as well. You take a look again at the communication that Kentucky uses when they're on the defensive end. They can switch screens. They are solid, and they look at the ball all the time, and they're always down in the stance with their hands up. And look at the great pressure on the ball by Cliff Hawkins. The pressure on the ball is what causes those turnovers. And guys like Eric Daniels and Marquise Estel inside, Jules Kamara, who can run the floor and block shots, those guys don't get near the credit they deserve. But the togetherness and the chemistry, that's what makes Kentucky the best team in the country, and it's because of their defense. And they are also an outstanding passing team. They shoot a very good percentage because they pass the ball so well, and they share it with each other.
We are going for 3 straight. You guys have picked the last 2 national champions on our bracket projections, but you know it's not always the big shot. Sometimes team comes from nowhere. It was just 20 years ago that North Carolina State made its run and won the championship. Derek Wittenberg is back in the tournament with Wagner. He's got a first-round game against Pittsburgh. He could use a miracle much like the #2 buzzer beater that you voted on ESPN.com.
Got it drive to the basket. It's down to 7 seconds. You can see the time. Wittenberg. Oh, it's a long ways. They won it. On the dunk.
You think that's a freak play? I mean, that's a play. I told you, that's part of my emergency scoring series. My wife is pregnant. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be pregnant. And we are going to name our kid Al B. Kirky.
Epson T001, Canon BC31E.
Shopping for ink and toner in most stores is hit or miss.
HP C9720.
Come on.
A.
At Staples, we stock a huge selection of cartridges, so we guarantee we'll have the one you need. Online or in store, promise. HP 45.
Bingo.
Your ink and toner in stock. Staples. That was easy.
Let me guess, stuffed French toast down at IHOP.
Yeah, right now at IHOP, it's stuffed French toast. Creamy on the inside and served with all your favorites. Everybody's packing in just to get a taste. IHOP, come hungry, leave happy.
My friends call me sensitive. I guess I am a bit. I really want to call them, but I simply can't commit.
P.U. Me thinketh, that stinketh.
Alf, it's about 10, 10, 220.
Well, don't forget the best part. 99 cents for all calls up to 20 minutes. It's cheap. Right about that.
I want to write about no monthly commitment, dude.
What about no signing up?
Yeah, I like that. Brother.
Obviously from another mother.
Dial 1010-220.
rivalries. Superhuman strength.
It's about to get very cold in here.
Big-time college hoops action and the biggest action movie of the year. X-Men 2 launches May 2nd, and college basketball all season long on ESPN.
The NCAA Men's Selection Special is presented by Staples. Get back time. Go to Staples. And in part by IHOP. Try new stuffed French toast done at IHOP. Come hungry. Leave happy. And 10-10-220. It's cheap whether you call a lot or a little. Dial 10-10-220.
Our final thoughts from Dick and Digger in just a second, but now the #1 buzzer beater of all time as voted on by you. The countdown began at number 10 with Christian Laettner at number 1. You guessed it.
They throw it the length of the floor. Laettner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores!
Some people want to say it was skill, and that Laettner knew it was going in, and Coach K knew that play would work. On Coach K's side might have been, something skill-wise, but I just threw it up there, and it was an incredibly lucky shot, and I would probably never again make that shot.
Whoever forget that, 104-103, they beat Kentucky, go on to win the national championship. As for this year, nobody thinks anybody's going to beat Kentucky. You saw the vote. 89% of the voters on ESPN.com. Tens of thousands of people think Kentucky will win the national championship. That is a landslide. The official ESPN bracket has Kentucky winning it. You guys both have Kentucky winning it. So if we all agree on the champion, what's going to be the kind of the theme of this NCAA tournament, Dick?
Well, you talk about a theme right here is the unpredictability. The bottom line is, other than Kentucky as a dominant team, we'll certainly have some shocks along the way. I'll tell you this, for 3 weeks, nothing captures America like the NCAA championship. It is the best sporting event of them all. I mean, you could talk the World Series, talk the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and they are special. But when you have, for 3 weeks, this captures America, Digger, and I agree. I think it's the year of Kentucky, the year of Tubby Smith, cutting the nuts down and winning the national title for the 8th year at Kentucky. They will have their 8th banner flying high in Lexington.
I agree with you, Dick, but when you look at the whole field this year, last year we saw a theme where if you had 3 perimeter shooters and 2 guys in the paint, you're going to get it done. We saw that with Collison and Gooden and their perimeter again, Baxter, as well as what went on with Randall in the paint. But the theme this year to me is the physical teams that will show up. You've got to rebound. You've got to have physical teams. You've got to be explosive. You've got to be able to have that senior experience. And that's why I like teams like Maryland, UConn, Missouri, Illinois, Syracuse, and Mississippi State. If that happens, that's why I don't think you're going to see the #1 seed show up. And to me, only 1 of the 4 seeds will show up, Dick.
Well, there was an upset-filled championship week. We'll see if that's a prelude to the NCAA tournament. Dick, you got 8 seconds.
Well, it's hard to believe. 20 years ago, Jimmy cut the nets down. Jim Valvano, 10 years ago, lost his life. Help us beat cancer. Call 1-800-4-JIMMY-V. Everybody that loves hoop.